And SAC requirement for self-assessments. Assessment frequency, as I told you, it is annual. So there are two sets they have created, first semester and second semester. So that we'll see next. Then assessment frequency will be annual. Farm sample random from full list of the farmers. So you have submitted me the list of 45 farmers. So Muddy Boots will randomly select the sample online through online system. And sample size 30 or square root of the number of farmers, whichever is the higher. So in case of 45, you have to do assessment for the 30 farmers. So if your farmers are more than 900, then whatever that square root of that particular number, you have to do the assessment for those number. 1000 farmers means around 33 assessment. In case of 900, you have to do 30 assessment. So 30 to 900 is a gap where you have to do at least 30 assessment. You can do more, but minimum is the 30. Reporting, you have to report through the Quickfire software, that is the Muddy Boots software. Improvement plan to be generated annually based on the result of annual self-assessment. So control engineer will be responsible for developing an improvement action plan. Will share it with you based on the assessment we have done and you have submitted in Quickfire. So we will prepare an improvement plan and share it with you. You can add your points, your deadlines to do the corrective actions and then share back to us so that we can check whether you have implemented those corrective actions in next season. And external audit. Unilever decides about the audit, but no surprise approach is there. As far as now, only self-assessments are there. Only 1 or 2 suppliers have got audited since last 2 years. Random sample. A random sample of farms for self-verification will be taken annually from full list of the farmers supplying at processing plant with raw materials that are supplied to Unilever. The selection will be made by a Muddy Boots system, not by the supplier themselves. So you can't select the farmers for self-assessment. Muddy Boots system will generate the sample. Number of farms, as I told you, if there are fewer than 30 farms, then all farmers to be assessed. When number of farms are less than 30, then sampling rule is more than 30, then sampling rule is the square root of n or 30, whichever is the higher. Okay. Any questions related to this?
This farmer selection for supplier assessment is strictly by Muddy Boots.
Strictly by Muddy, yeah.
Do a random collection and give it to
Yeah.
us so that we need to audit that people and
Right.
then upload it.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Who has completed the Muddy Boots training? Then we will move to the next slide. This timing of subsequent assessment. So your second assessment, that is the reassessment of the supplier, must take place in accordance with the following rules. For compliant dates between 1st January and 30th June, all reassessment must be submitted and closed before 30th June of the following year. So suppose when turmeric will get over or harvested?
By end of February.
By end of February. So we will keep your assessment will keep in February, or we can keep it in March after your crop gets over. So once you submit the assessment in March, you will get, if you are complying with all the requirements, then you will get a diploma certificate with validity of 30 June 2015, because you are submitting in 2014. So your validity will be 30 June 2015 and your next assessment should be before 30th June 2015. Okay. So that is the timing of the subsequent assessment. If you are compliant dates between 1st July and 31st December, then all assessments should be submitted before the 31st December. So that is the new rule, and new random sample will be used for each round of assessments.
And if the crop cycle varies like now one is in February,
Okay.
maybe something is in June or July.
Okay.
So then we will have to go for the.
So that we can have. Then benchmarking, which we were discussing earlier. Any material from farms that have been certified against standards recognized by Unilever as compliant with the principles and practices of sustainable agriculture qualifies. The current list of recognized external standards is given in next slide. So it is Rainforest Alliance, the Fair Trade, RSPO for palm oil, UTZ for coffee, FSC, MSC, then Protera for soybean, RTRS for soybean, and iPhone standards like organic. If your farmers are certified with these standards, you need not to do the self-assessment, or you need not to go for all the implementation on your sites. You can directly claim your product as a sustainable, and Unilever has no problem. You just have to produce the certificate to them, and the traceability will be there. And next slide is about the partial benchmarking. The external standards which have been benchmarked to the ULSAC, which are not completely compliant, but ULSAC with the ULSAC, but contain areas which Unilever will accept as a equivalent. If suppliers are compliant with these standards, they will need not to self-verify against the SAC for any areas not covered by the standards. So these are the partially recognized standards. Global Gap is the Food Alliance, Leaf Mark, then ISSC, SEDEX. So if your farmers are certified with these standards, the questions will get reduced. You have to do the self-assessment.
The SEDEX has got
That is again
Only related to
farmer verification.
Now,
Same principle apply for the farmers. That is for the industry.
Yeah, HSCP again, it is a different SQ 1000.
Yeah.
So that is applied to the farm.
That is for farm
Farm, yeah.
as a.
Yeah.
Okay. That
Next, the annual time frame. The steps which where you will be involved and we will be involved. So these are the steps. You have to send supply chain questionnaire. We will send you supply chain questionnaire template to you, which we have already sent. Then you have to complete
that is
it.
the one we filled.
Yeah, right. And you have to complete it in a written supply chain questionnaire. Then we will import the supply chain to your Quickfire account, which we have given to the Muddy Goods. Then we will confirm once that is done. Then you have to do the self-assessment, that is internal assessment. We will keep monitoring on the progress of self-assessment, and gap analysis and improvement plan will be done by supplier and control union.
We supply
Uploaded
Yeah.
Google review.
Yeah, we will just following it, whether you are uploading the assessment. We will check in our system, that Quickfire system, that whether you are uploading it or not. We will keep following up. So this is the time to upload, because some of the suppliers get.
you will let us know, or you just follow it only, or will you give us any alarm saying that?
Yeah, we will just follow. If you have not submitted within deadline.
So you
Yeah.
okay, you give us an advance.
Yeah.
Okay, finished. And this gap analysis and improvement plan, again, we will be sitting together.
Not really sitting together, because we will do the gap analysis based on the assessment submitted by you. We will prepare an action plan based on our understanding. I will give it to you. You can add your points. You can ask us to remove our points based on the practical condition on the farm and your priorities, which corrective action need to be taken in next season, which corrective action need to be taken after 2 years, so that you can prioritize.
Finished.
Then
And
for help.
for us, for control union, you will be the contact point.
Yeah.
For any clarification,
Yeah,
things
right.
will be on the same.
Yeah. For health related to Unilever scheme rules and Unilever SAC and its interpretation, you can contact control union. And training on Quickfire and any issues regarding the assessment, downloading or submission, you can contact Muddy Goods. And any problem in implementation, actually, suppose any monetary things are there, some points you think that are difficult to implement on the field, you can contact Unilever. They can provide you help to implement in a
Example
better
can be
way.
done?
Maybe farmer training
Okay.
in case of this safe use of pesticides, chemicals. They have contacts with Bayer, then
Okay.
BASF, so they can help you regarding yeah. And buying contract related purchase order related things, you can contact Unilever.
Who will Muddy Goods be in Nashville?
Actually, there is one team called support team. SU you have to drop an email to support@muddyboards.com, and there is one Anna Powell is there
That
Yeah. who provides the training and all the things.
നമ്മുടെ usually ബുക്സിന്റെ റിലേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ട്
Anna Powell, yeah.
There was contact details.
Yeah. And for further information and
What, sorry for asking this question again.
developed by Muddy Boots.
Muddy Boots is the name of the company.
Yeah,
And software is called Skill.
Pixar. And for this code, they have Unilever has prepared one implementation guide, which is quite useful in getting information, in getting experiences from whole wide. Yeah.
What you have given
Yeah.
us. There is another one.
Another one called is Unilever implementation guide. It is maybe around 200 pages book. So that is
Download.
yeah, it is available on this link. Or if you want soft copy, I have that soft copy. Implementation guides are also helpful. This is the implementation guide.
This is the same thing.
This is the code. No. Now we go in detail with all the chapters. So if you see all the chapters, there are 52 questions which are categorized as a mandatory questions. So your farmers must comply with all these 52 questions. Otherwise, you can't claim your material as sustainable. Then there are 200 must questions and 1, 2, 3 should questions. So for now, you can skip shoulds, but again, it is your priority whether to concentrate on should or not. So
This mandatory is, this 52 questions is across the 10 chapters.
yeah, across the 11 chapters. And then first chapter, as I told you, it is about your commitment, continuous improvement. You must commit yourself to implement or to take measures wherever the actions needed. And if there is any problem, then you have to inform it to the Unilever that we are facing some problem with the implementation of this standard. Then Unilever will provide the help. So that is first chapter called as continuous improvement.
Again, this also requires a policy and all this.
Yeah, kind of policy thing, but it is need not to be displayed because that is not a requirement, but you can have it. Then second chapter is about the agrochemicals and fuels. That is about the pesticide, fertilizers and fuels used on the farm. This is the biggest chapter of this standard and contains 14 mandatory questions, 79 must questions and 15 should questions. So we'll mainly go with mandatory and must. We will not go in yeah. Record keeping. What kind of record should be maintained for this standard? You must have a IPM strategic commitment. IPM is an integrated pest management. So you have to develop IPM for turmeric crop and commit yourself to implement on the field of the farmers. So IPM program should be there for turmeric. So in that you have to consider the major pest of the turmeric. Then you have to develop the corrective actions or measures should be taken to avoid or prevent them. Measures will include the cultural control, then mechanical control, biological control, and at the last chemical control should be there.
So whatever related to pest
Pest management.
should come under this.
Yeah,
Okay.
Got
Like
it.
provision of PPEs, equipment,
Yeah.
cleaning,
Right.
all this.
exactly.
So this commitment is more like a policy.
Yeah, a kind of policy or procedure you have to develop one
Is
IPM.
there a sample that you have?
Sample I don't have because we are dealing with so many crops. So each supplier develop their own policy. Yeah.
There's no template on that.
Yeah, you can have it from agriculture universities in your area because these kind of things are more related to this.
Area.
Yeah, because on net you will get the IPM practice should have its record to justify agrochemical application, pest monitoring records for CPPs and nutrient balance calculation for fertilizers.
What is CPP?
CPP is crop protection products. That is
Crop
pesticide.
protection book.
Crop protection products.
Products.
Like your.
Records to justify agrochemical applications. Justification is why it is required, why application is required. So you can have a recommendation from universities kind of thing, or any research done by the farmers or experience of the farmers. You can take it also that into account while giving justification to the pest management. It will covering IPM also, why it is recommended. Then,
CPPs are basically the pesticides
yeah,
or fungicides.
pesticide, fungicide, all the things, herbicides. Then agrochemical application records.
This nutrient balance calculation, sorry for asking.
Chemical application record in which chemical is applied, which fertilizer is applied, again which paste, what is the quantity, applicator details, who has applied. So that record keeping, I have prepared it as per my knowledge. So you can use it, or you can develop
Is it
your
farmer diary you call it?
yeah and villages and action taken. We know that accidents don't happen generally, or farmers don't keep record of accidents as of now, but you have to train the farmers, or you have to incorporate made a provision to record these kind of things.
This accidents you are talking about
Related
while on
to-
work or while they are at home or whatever it is?
Related to the farm activities.
Only the farm
Farm
activity.
activities.
Suppose you have a snake bite inside the farm, you will take that time.
Yeah,
If it is within the house premises, you don't take it.
Everything.
then agrochemical application equipment maintenance and calibration record.
Take this? or
Yeah, it is for you. It is for you.
You have a soft copy also?
Yeah.
Did you share?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Agrochemical application equipment and maintenance record. What are the sprayers are there used for the spraying? Then their maintenance and calibration record you should keep. And agrochemical store content. If farmer is storing chemicals in his house, then store record should be there. If he is not storing in house, or whenever he require, he bring it from the market and use it, then no need to maintain this record. But if he is storing in the house, then you should have this record, like stock record.
This calibration again, can you tell something?
Next is the records related to the agrochemical risk assessment. So you have to carry out risk assessment, or means farmer has to carry out the risk assessment for the chemicals that he is using. Maybe there are certain kind of chemicals which are highly toxic or less toxic. Then maybe he can replace his highly toxic chemical with less toxic to reduce the risk. Then what are the correct application methods he should use, handling techniques, risk assessment should be there. He should store the chemicals away from the children, or should be placed in a lock and key. So that kind of risk assessment should be there, has to be performed by the farmer or by your field staff, whoever is responsible. If you see those records, on last page there are kind of risk assessment checklists are there. So what kind of risk exists related to agrochemicals, related to fertilizer. So if risk is there, you have to tick that risk is there, and what corrective action is you have taken. So if he is storing in the home, then corrective action should be it stored in lock and key. So it will be the corrective action. If you using the non-maintenance sprayer, or if he is doing the spraying in not a technical thing or technical manner, then you have to train them to how to do it in correct way. So this will be the corrective action. So risk assessment should be there. Then training records for applicators and people who handle and manage agrochemicals. So you have to give training to effective use of the chemicals and how to do the correct spraying to the farmers or to the laborers, and you have to keep the training records for those. And a record of agrochemicals vendors use. So in this case, if farmers are maintaining bills or invoices from where they are purchasing the chemicals, it should be enough. The basic purpose behind this question is
Procurement bills will be sufficient?
yeah. Because basic purpose behind this question is whether they are purchasing it from registered vendors or not. Okay.
And one more thing, water quality.
Yeah.
That is also the, so again it is same like soil.
Yeah.
And
Again,
on what standard you have to test on that?
it's salinity, then EC,
That is basic chemical.
basic chemical. Yeah. That we'll see in detail with
Okay, in
next
water.
water chapter. Because in this section it is categorized as should, but in water section it is categorized as a must. Then next is you have to calculate average nitrogen input over the whole area on which universal raw material is produced for the current calendar year. So how much nitrogen that farmer has applied. Has applied. Suppose he is using 100 kg of urea, then he must be using 46% of nitrogen. because urea contains 46% in 100 kg. So that in that way you have to calculate how much nitrogen he has used in that particular season. So based on fertilizers he has used, you have to calculate the nitrogen used by the farmer. So in that case you have to enter just amount of nitrogen used in your assessment and what is the parameter, means this kg per hectare or kg per acre, that indicator you have to mention it. Then next is the average nitrogen offtake per ton of harvested crop over the whole area on which Unilever raw material was produced for the current calendar year. So for this calculation you have to do the analysis, product analysis, to calculate average nitrogen offtake. But to reduce your work, Unilever has already done some research and given some figures for average nitrogen offtake. So you can search your crop in the list given by Unilever and put that figure as an answer for this question. So in case of turmeric is not in this table, but separate table is, big table is there, in which you will find a turmeric crop. So in case of tomato, you have to write down 1.35 kg nitrogen per ton of product has been taken by the crop. So for turmeric you have to search and enter that figure. Okay, that table is there, that link is there in the assessment itself. So you just have to use that link to get your answer. Then next is the non-disposal of fertilizers and containers in streams and rivers. This is a prohibited practice. So if you observe this practice on your farms, then you have to stop it immediately. So it is totally prohibited. The next is the avoid application of untreated human sewage or human sewage contaminated water and water that may be contaminated with runoff from sewage treatment. It is again a prohibited practice. So application of human sewage is prohibited to Unilever crop. Then a crop nutrient management system in a place. You have to develop a crop nutrient management system. It is again kind of package of practices related to the fertilizers. Which fertilizers are recommended by you? What is the dose of that fertilizers? What is the time frame for application of those fertilizers? What are the good techniques to be used for fertilizer application? That you have to develop a package of practices and implement on the fields. So it should consider the soil, climate and weather patterns. Then application of nutrients must be at right rate, right time and right place. So right rate we have seen dose, right time, then time frame of application, and right place means the methods which you are going to recommend to the farmers for fertilizer application. Then next is the responsibility should be clearly assigned for planning and carrying out crop nutrition. So the responsibility will be your field staff will be responsible for doing this, because your field staff will train the farmers for implementing and practicing the crop nutrition, correct crop nutrition for turmeric crop. There may be field staff officer or farmers. Use the knowledge of soils, chemical, biological, physical composition in planning crop nutrition. So this you can actually get from the soil analysis, or you can use the recommendation from universities or agriculture research institution for deriving at the soil chemicals, biological and physical composition in planning crop nutrition. Suppose some kind of soil will not require more urea because it will be rich in organic carbon. So you have to concentrate on more on other fertilizers. So some kind of soil, maybe a stony soil, will require some other kind of fertilizers, so that you can use. Some soils will not require urea, maybe leaching losses will be there. So based on that you have to calculate or prepare a crop nutrition plan for your farmers based on your soil pH, soil stone, soil organic matter content. Use the knowledge of crop nutritional requirement in planning crop nutrition. Knowledge of crop nutritional requirement means what? Turmeric crop requires what kind of fertilizers? What kind of doses are recommended for turmeric crop to get maximum yield and good quality for turmeric? That you have to take into consideration while recommending your farmers. So use of recommendation from for amount and timing of fertilizers by research institute and agricultural university is recommended. Then justify nutrient applications by a gap between actual and target nutrient supply, taking into account all sources of nutrients already available to the crop. Suppose your farmers are growing pulses or green manure crop before the turmeric crop. So these crops will have effect on soil nutrition because they will be having some nitrogenous residues or nitrogenous things already kept on the farm, because the residues will have some kind of nitrogenous substances or molecules on there. So you have to consider those also. Suppose you have taken pulse crop before turmeric crop, then you have to reduce your nitrogenous fertilizers during turmeric crop, because all the soil must be having already sufficient nitrogen for turmeric. So that you have to consider. Again, all these things are related to the package of practices. What kind of package of practices you think and you develop based on the recommendation of the universities and experience of the farmers.
These need to be substantial with testing of the soil.
Yeah.
And again, when the crop rotation is there, like this time we have put turmeric.
Yeah.
And next something else.
Yeah.
So again we have to take soil testing
No,
for that.
No, only for the turmeric.
So but some,
So we have seen this, consider nutrient content of the soil, the previous fertilizer application, then harvest residues, legume crops, that is pulse crops and green manures and cover crops used. So you can consider these in planning your crop nutrition, because these will have impact on your soil nutrition. And calculate a simple input-output nutrient balance of the crop. So how much nutrients have been applied and how much it has uptaken by the crop, that you have to calculate. You can do the product analysis or the tissue analysis maybe randomly for 1 or 2 farmers, 3 farmers, based on your understanding, to understand the nutrients supplied at the farm are actually used by the crop or not. So that based on that you can next time while planning the crop nutrition you can design it in that way.
But this can be applied to this one test.
Are applied only to the intended crop area to prevent pollution, avoid water bodies, avoid wildlife habitats or places of work or residential area. So if some of the fields of farmers may be nearby school or village or community area, then you would recommend that fertilizer should be applied to crop only, because some farmers they use broadcasting technique, just throw fertilizer on the farm. So you have to just train them on which technique to be used for fertilizer application. Spot application you can recommend, or after application you can recommend to cover the fertilizer with soil. So that you can recommend to avoid the wastage and to avoid the pollution. It can be done using buffer zones or use of suitable application technology and self-disposal of washing. Buffer zone means the area which nearby your farm where to avoid the pollution or washings to go beyond that particular farm. It can be 3 meter or 5 meter, so to minimize the risk to the neighboring sites.
So, for example, if I don't have a buffer zone,
Yeah.
that capacity, so can I use and static barrier?
Yeah, you can use it.
Biological kind.
Right. You can have a maize crop or border crops that you can have.
So that can suffice.
Yeah. You have to just ensure that the fertilizers are not going wasted or pollution is not happening.
the problem with maize again, you have to face is again GMO.
GM.
Because
Maize is not a
there are GMO varieties.
In India,
We don't know.
Yeah, in India only, still now it's cotton.
I don't know to an extent they are trying to bring
Yeah.
maize or
Not to
not.
Maize is-
So we can always tell that in India. we
Maize,
don't have that.
maize are lower.
Or NNP being lost to the environment. So suppose you are applying urea and keeping it as such, then urea can get lost because of the leaching. So you have to make sure that that fertilizer you have applied is not get wasted. So timing of application should be considered, then choice of fertilizers, then soil condition and application techniques. So if you have applied fertilizers and rain comes, it will get washed out. So based on that, your farmers must apply fertilizers. Farmers are aware about these practices, but again you have to do the refresher training for the farmers. Maybe in technical way, you can train them how it is being lost. So that you have to do.
And this farmer credit,
People, you have to search from this list. This is a big list. So you will get your chemical here. What is that? You select the unit, kg per acre or liter per acre, and add. Okay. So if you farmer is using another chemical, you have to go here again.
Doubt here would be, is that chemical active ingredient has to be as a
So
chemical?
legal obligation with respect to pest management and the management, storage, use and disposal of CPPs. So, are you aware about the national legal obligations with respect to the pest management? Are you aware about the national legal obligations with respect to the pest management?
Which are would be available?
So there are-
Pest management.
There are two rules are there, mainly Insecticide Act and Insecticide Rule. So your farmers must comply with these two rules, but these two rules are mainly applicable to the who sell the products, not to the farmers mainly. Farmers must make sure that they are not polluting water bodies, they are using chemicals on the crops intended for the use, and they are not using banned chemicals.
Children should not
Yeah.
be engaged.
So these practices should farmers should comply. Then,
just
like international guidelines 1, 2 and 4 where they exceed standards in national legislation. So CropLife International has developed guidelines. These guidelines you can use because these guidelines are quite useful and maybe you will get more idea seeing it, or your farmers will get easily identify which practice to be had because it is kind of pictorial presentation they have given it. So you can show those pictures to your farmers and they will easily get what they have understood, they can easily tell you. So these guidelines are for safe and effective use of crop protection products, personal protection when using crop protection products, and safe transportation of the chemicals.
Is that same CropLife which was an NGO in India?
Children or pregnant or nursing home to handle or apply CPPs. So it should be, it is a prohibited practices. So if you observe it, you have to stop it immediately.
No, it's not. It's not.
Given to the workers to apply and handle CPPs, which chemicals to use, how to mix the chemicals, how to use protective equipments. So that training basically should be given to the workers. The non-disposal of CVTs, packing and containers in rivers, streams and other water sources. So it should be stopped immediately. And do not reuse CPP containers for any purpose other than recycling. When a proprietary or container is refilled professionally by the vendor. So you can't use containers to store feed or water. Reuse also is not recommended because in general in India the vendors do not recommend reuse of the chemicals. They just ask to throw it or bury it in the soil.
So what do you generally Unilever suggest on disposable?
Generally in India actually what we are suggesting is to bury it in the soil because it is the best option. Select a area on your farm which is not usable, but dig a pit and bury it in the soil.
Sewage mechanisms were
Outside label, instructions, expired CPPs and CPPs that are not covered by local legislation levels. So chemicals recommended by you should be registered chemicals and you have to make sure that farmers are using those chemicals only, not the banned chemicals. Because if you observe that endosulfan is banned now, but you can still find some farmers using endosulfan.
this WHO classification can use
Yeah,
for recommendation.
yeah. In this also, as per this code, you have to, if you are using WHO 1A, 1B group chemicals, then you have to replace them with WHO 2 and 3. Mainly 3, 2, you can have a plan.
There should be an improvement plan or removal plan.
Yeah, removal plan.
Because most chemicals are maybe 1A, 1B are mostly banned.
Mostly banned.
And not
Highly toxic
highly
category.
toxic. But some chemicals used were still under 2.
Yeah,
So maybe imidacloprid is under 2
Yeah.
but widely used.
yeah. So
it
you
has to
should
be
have a plan.
planned.
Yeah. And document and implement a strategic commitment to integrated pest management that we have already seen in the record keeping. So you have to prepare a plan to implement IPM and you should commit. There should be commitment of IPM principles in that plan. Then assign responsibilities for planning and carrying out pest control and implementing IPM. Again, this will be responsibility of the field officer or the farmers. Pest control as per IPM and planning and execution. Then use processes criteria for selecting suitable growing areas, fields, rotations and varieties. So while you can recommend resistant varieties to be used so that pest problem is not there. Selection of season, which season is favorable for turmeric crop or which is less pest prevalent season. In crop rotation practices, the crop rotations which are helpful to remove the pest, so that you can recommend to the farmers. Then use cultural control of pests to prevent buildup of survival. Use of trap crop, removal of crop residues, adjustment in planting and harvesting time. So this kind of cultural control should be there. So if you have implemented IPM, then automatically you will cover this practice, because IPM will have cultural, mechanical, biological and at the end chemical control. So if you have implemented IPM, then all these you can comply with all these questions. Then identify key pests, understood their life cycles and establish action thresholds. What are the key pests of turmeric that you have to identify? Then what are the damaging stages of those particular pests? Which period is most damaging, and action thresholds. So action threshold is a level at which you have to take chemical control into account.
Economic period.
Yeah.
Economic threshold.
So at that
So that initially
stage and dormant phases that you have to consider. Then next is a check actual level of key pests in the field and compare them against the action thresholds. So again, this is related to the earlier questions. And justify CPP use as essential for achieving the yield or quality achieved. So just for justification, you must have a recommendation from universities or maybe literature of action threshold. Then keep records of infestation level and control measures taken. So it should include a product name, active ingredient, then batch number is not a necessary thing, but you can have it. Then date of application, quantity, and name of the applicator. Name of the applicator is the why required to cross check whether the applicator was below the 80 years or more than 80 years or adult one. So for that, name of applicator is required.
In the previous slide,
Yeah.
sir,
Chemicals. Some are you will see a red triangle, green triangle, yellow triangle. So red triangle are highly toxic. So you can replace them. If same molecule is there, you can replace them with green label pesticides. So these chemicals are less toxic to the human. So you have to just make sure that the toxicity, toxicity of chemicals, you have to make sure that it is not affecting the human which are using, or which is not damaging to the crop, because again you have to comply with the residue limits of particular product. So for that you will make sure that you are recommending chemicals which are less toxic and which will have less residue in final product.
And one more thing, like sand standards, last part if you see, they have recommended for each country wise,
Yeah.
which is permitted, and that is also something which can be taken.
Yeah.
into
Yes, definitely.
and one more thing was like
Measures that you have to train your farmers to follow the application instruction on the label and check the suitability and registration status of the CPP before it is used. So the used chemical should be registered, not banned by the legally. It should not be banned. Check the safety precautions needed before applying CPP. So each chemical will have a safety measures written on their MSDS sheet. So based on that, you have to recommend your farmers to use mask or gloves or pipe to spray. You have to recommend them, and then you have to monitor whether farmer is doing or not. Checking our application equipment and availability of the protective equipment, that is mask or gloves. And take measures to ensure only intended target area is exposed to the CPPs. Again, this is related to the application techniques. Which application techniques you are recommending to the farmers? Maybe correct application, correct use of nozzles, correct use of spraying pumps that you can recommend to the farmers, or correct timing of the spray. Suppose wind is blowing and your farmer is spraying, your chemical will get lost. So you have to just make sure that farmer is doing chemical in a proper manner so that chemical use is properly used by that particular crop only. Use of buffer zones when not spraying at the wind speed, and use of low drift technology is recommended to comply with this requirement.
What do you mean by low drift technology?
So when you spraying a chemical, it will get drifted to other field. So low drift means close application or odd application. Suppose farmers spray what they do. In some cases, they will take one line and spray. From that line, they will spray to 3 lines or 4 lines. So they will have a chance that all plants will not get that chemical that is required, that is desired by that particular plant. So use of low drift technology will ensure that seed and any other contaminant material from CPP use is disposed or recycled safely. So disposal should be in proper way. You can see that the dig you can pit you can dig it in your field. Sprayer washing should not go in the water sources where animal or human beings can affect it by them. So you have to make sure that farmers are using correct techniques or correct methods to dispose of the sprayer washing and empty containers. Maybe the using pit is a more appropriate method.
It should not be burned.
Yeah. Plastic should not be burned, but if papers are there, the things which can be burned, they can burn. But if plastic is there, it is better to do.
Most of CPPs are plastic containers, plastic sources. So it is always advisable to not to burn.
With regards to disposing on a pit, is there any guidelines for that, or you can just dig up a pit in a certain area?
There is no such kind of guideline, but it should be away from the water sources, or it should be away from the sources from where it will, so the chances of leaching will be less, or maybe in unused area on the farm. The chances of leaching are less.
So is it also like some designated place?
It can be anywhere, maybe on the one PP which are fit for use. PP means plant protective equipments, maybe glasses, gloves, mask, the full sleeve shirt that you have to use in farmers, and train agrochemical operators to use PPs. So you have to train your agrochemical applicators which PP to use. Suppose in case of heat, you can't recommend to use all the clothing because it will get affected. That work will get affected. So you can recommend only the mask or gloves. Or if you're using safe chemical, then there is no need to use any PP. Chemical is based on on label. It is like trade name, contents of active ingredient, cautionary note, then pre-harvest instruction, first aid, antidote. All these things are mentioned on the label. Main things are the first aid, then pre-harvest interval things, then toxicity levels. Antidote is also most important. So these chemical, farmers should be trained on understanding these kind of things on the container or pesticide bottle. And use washing facilities after handling or using agrochemicals. So proper washing facilities should be provided to the workers after spraying activity. Then wash the PPE after use. So the gloves or mask used by the farmers, it can be either thrown out or disposed, or if they are reusable, then it should be washed separately away from the normal clothes.
So what location, is there any location specific where they can be washed?
Again, it should be ensure, it should ensure that no pollution should be there, because if they are washing it on the water sources or near well, there are chances that water will go into that well or river. So you should wash them actually on the field, so that all the washings can be confined to the field only.
The same how we wash the equipment,
Yeah.
the same place we can actually put the PPEs also, and maybe we can put their
From agrochemicals and away from the other clothes and household items. So PP should be stored away from the chemicals.
protect.
personal protective equipment.
Plant,
The personal protective equipment.
personal protection equipment.
And take measures to ensure that health and safety risks to the bystanders and members of the local community are avoided. So bystanders means neighbors, recommend spraying in the evening time so that they have at least 12-hour gap after the spraying so that it will not affect the community or bystanders to that particular field.
On the importance of PP.
The next is the purchase agrochemicals in original packaging with a label in a relevant language. So nowadays you will get MSG issued in different languages, so it is quite easy to comply with this requirement.
All these labels are energy.
Yeah. And purchase agrochemicals from nationally approved or industry recognized vendors. So for complying with this requirement, you can recommend farmers to purchase. You can give a different name of vendors or traders who are dealing with the chemicals. Then they can have their own shops, their own selection, and go and purchase from there.
One more thing on the first point, is the original packaging.
Yeah.
I'm not very, again, on the layman's point of view,
Yeah.
is there something which comes in the bulk bag of 25 kgs or 50 kg? And is there any chemical that is sold loose?
No.
Is there anything of that kind, or it's always in a, say, 1 kg, 2 kg pack which is to be bought as a unit?
Yeah.
Is it always like that? Or
I
there
haven't seen a loose, means farmer purchasing in a loose.
Maybe fertilizers, maybe.
Fertilizers,
Some
yeah.
clean cut and they were getting loose.
But chemicals,
chemicals they were getting
they may
loose.
not be loose.
it is always,
500 ml, 1 liter, 2 liter.
so then why is the first, that is always that, then why is the first point so relevant?
In some cases, the vendor who is dealing, they can sell it as loose. And farmers can take it because they have to do their own business. They can open 2 liter container, put it in the 1 liter container, mix it with some kind of other chemical and sell it. So the details of all agricultural vendors should use. So just maintaining the bills is enough for this requirement.
That is not of the farm level, it's with the.
It's a
Farm
farm.
level, in the by-
All questions are
Keep the-
asked to the farmer.
last point that you said, keeping a record of all the.
They will give a bill and they pin it along with the farm level.
Fast.
So for us, it is a reference.
So all this,
The next one is again not applicable. Use of legally approved subcontractors for off-farm agrochemical waste disposal. Suppose he is taking chemicals from village and disposing it off-farm. If this is available, then you can use it. Otherwise, you can write down as a not applicable. And ensure that application equipment is maintained in good working order and safe to use. So sprayer which you are using, it should be calibrated, maintained at least annually, and make sure that they are throwing proper flow. Check application equipment before and clean after use. You have to check it.
Can I just come in the 2.6.1.1?
Yeah.
Is the application equipment usually owned by the farmer or has rented by some rental?
most 90% are open.
It's not that it's expensive.
90
It's 100%, almost you can say 100% more than open. Because it doesn't cost much. It's always farmer owns it.
In case they have a issue, they borrow from the
Other neighbors.
neighbors.
And maybe in this case, the equipment wise
Was
concerned.
explaining to us more.
And next, you have to ensure that the sprayers or use are washed after the use. So that farmers generally don't do, they keep it as such. But you have to make sure that they are washing it after the use.
It should be removed.
Yeah. Then take measures to ensure that application equipment delivers the desired flow rates and allows for even distribution. So that we have already discussed. You have to make sure that the flow rates are proper and you have to use correct nozzle. And carry out annual checks for the machine applicators to ensure they deliver the correct spray patterns. If you are using boom sprays or fertigation system, you have to make sure that these systems are throwing the chemical in correct manner or delivering the chemical in correct manner. Maybe some choke up will happen or flow rate will reduce. It is kind of drip irrigation system where you mix the chemical with the water
Okay.
and
Drip.
apply through the drip.
Yeah. Drip plus fertilizer.
Apply through the drip.
Drip irrigation, fertilizer will also, that's called as.
It's done in Prakarana.
But both here also, both areas we have it. 100%.
So when majority when you have a drip irrigation systems or a fertigation system, so most of the standard is met except PPE
Yeah.
because that doesn't get contaminated,
Right.
so there won't be waste usage.
Exactly.
And you have a calculation also to that, and maybe the supplier can give you what is the rate calculation.
Yeah.
But if you have a drip irrigation system in field,
Most of the things are,
Yeah.
met.
Yeah.
Almost
Most
90%
requirements will be met. Because in case of water also you will also
Yeah.
get
How much
met.
water you are using and that waste water doesn't get into the.
Then again these are related questions. Carry out annual checks of the sprayers to ensure that they deliver the correct spray volume and pattern. Ensure the appropriate nozzles are used with all the equipments. Check nozzles for damage and replace if necessary. These are all calibration and maintenance related things. And next is, are your agrochemical stores constructed of suitable materials, kept dry and well ventilated? Again, this question is applicable if farmer is storing chemicals in his house. If he is not storing them, this question will be not applicable. But store should be kept dry and well ventilated. In case of small farmers, he will not have a different store. So he can have a box kind of thing where he store the chemicals, or he can have a bag kind of thing where he store the chemicals. So these kind of things you can design for your small holders. Then are your agrochemical store constructed and located in such a way as to minimize risk to the people or the environment, including or during emergencies such as fire or flooding? So you have to make sure that the storage of chemicals should be away from the water sources, should be away from the locations where there are chances of fire. Maybe you can't keep it near to the electricity board or a meter kind of thing. So you should keep stores away from these kind of things. Are your agrochemical stores locked to prevent access by children and unqualified persons? So it is not necessary to have a lock and key for all the stores. You have to make sure that these chemicals are stored away from the children, so that they don't have access to children. So there is no need to have a lock and key. If they are storing at a height or maybe in different room, so it is okay. And are fertilizers stored separately from CTPs and fuels? Again, in case of small farmers, you will not find this situation where farmers are storing fertilizers in separate room and chemicals in separate room. But again, you have to make sure that they are not getting mixed with each other. If they are getting mixed, then they are not of use of anything. Do you keep a record of all agrochemicals currently in the store? That is store record you have to keep. And are agrochemical handling and washing areas designed to so that spillages are confined?
on the first one,
Yeah.
most of the farmers, they don't buy any key. That is required in case, it's a large plantation, so they need to maintain a inventory of the chemicals.
As far as concerned, fertilizers is concerned, safe storage is required because generally farmers get bulk fertilizer maybe.
If they are storing it in house, then cover it with some sheet
But then we have to keep,
handle as specified by the manufacturer, separate from food, feed and living quarters. That we have already seen that it should be stored away from food, feed and living quarters. And are fuel stores constructed of suitable materials? Again, fuel is related to the diesel. If farmer is using diesel or petrol kind of thing on the farm, then fuel stores should be suitable, constructed of suitable materials.
That is for the
Tractors and pumps, irrigation pumps, if they require. Then are fuel stores located in such a way that to minimize risk to the people and environment, including during emergencies such as fire, flood or vehicle impact? So we have seen this thing related to the pesticide storage. It is related to the fuel storage. It should be away from the fire and flood kind of
So now
situation.
in Indian conditions, especially if you see the
Fuel don't store.
fuel, because previously the tractors used to have and petrol pumps used to be somewhere around, so they used to bring the containers of petrol and used to keep.
Yeah.
Now all petrol pumps are available and anyhow nobody is using kerosene and all gas. So now
Yeah.
it is becoming almost not applicable.
For fuel, it is mostly not applicable, you will find. Our stores of highly flammable materials kept secure, like diesel should be kept secure so that fire situation will not be there. A fuel store should be away separately. Fuel store should be separately away from the chemicals. Then next chapter is soil, and it will cover about the practices related to the soil. This chapter has only 2 mandatory questions, 22 first questions and 8 shoot questions.
See, when we update, is there any that mandatory should be written mandatory, must can be skip or what is it?
No, mandatory actually your farmers must comply with 100% mandatories,
Okay.
and must can be any percentage. So
Okay.
that percentage will decide your sustainability claim.
Okay.
Must, and for should you can skip should.
You can skip.
But should later on will be a must.
Yeah, will become a must. There are chances.
In
But
in assessment 4, it will be 80% compliance.
See, this is overall would be in self-assessment.
yeah, keep a record of your soil management and conservation system. Soil management should involve risk involved in the field location, choice of crop and cultivation methods. In other terms, we can say it is a package of practices for land management or land preparation. So based on that, you have to recommend which method to be used, how land should be prepared for turmeric crop, what location should be there, which crop should be taken on that particular land, which crop should be taken in crop rotation. So that all will come under the soil management and conservation system. So risk involved in the field means what are the risks? There is chance of soil erosion will be there, soil contamination will be there. So those risks you have to consider while planning the soil conservation and management plan. So for smallholder farms, individual management plan is not required. You can have a plan for whole group. Okay, so it can be applicable to whole group.
The smallholders, how much is there any definition for?
In case of Indian farmers, we generally see as a less than 4 hectare area.
Considered as a
Smallholder. Yeah.
So
In case of organic certifications.
1.7 hectares,
No, 4 hectares is less than 10 acres.
less than 10 acres is a small.
Supplier should provide a guidance to the farmers based on annual or based around recommendations of local research institutions, government or professional advice. So again, you can consider the recommendation from universities or other institutes which are there. We'll keep record of risk assessment and resulting action. Risk assessments, there are risk assessment has to be carried out by a field officer because farmers may not be aware or may not be literate to do that. So you can educate them so that later on they can take a part in risk assessment. But at initial stage, your field officer have to do it. Risk of soil erosion, soil compaction, soil chemical degradation, and soil contamination. Soil erosion can happen by wind or water. So that you have to consider. And soil compaction, anyone aware about soil compaction?
Yeah.
Yeah, because of heavy use of heavy machineries or continuous use of same land. Because once we started working on that land and continually work on that land, it will get compact. So make sure that the risk is not there. So soil erosion by water, soil erosion by wind, and soil compaction. These are the risks involved in the field. Soil chemical degradation means what? If soil is acidic and you are using acidic fertilizers again, it will become more acidic and it will degrade. So it will not give that much of yield which is desired by you. So that you have to again consider. And soil contamination means use of overdose of fertilizers, overdose of chemicals. So it will contaminate the soil. So that again you have to take that farmers are using recommended doses of fertilizer pesticides to avoid soil contamination. keep records of decisions and actions on implication of land expansion. So if farmer has expanded his land, then this question is applicable. In generally, and from where he expanded is more important. If he is expanded his land from the forest, then this question is applicable. If he is expanded other agricultural land, then that is not an issue, because while expanding you have to check that the suitability of land is taken care of into it, and environmental risk. So if that land is suitable for agriculture purpose, then he can use it. And environmental risk. Suppose he is developing land from forest, and there are chances that there is a risk to the flora and fauna in that particular forest. So that things you have to consider while expanding a land. If farmer has not expanded, then you can write down as a not applicable to this.
If farmer is expanding agriculture, then it is not applicable.
You have to carry out risk assessment, but you will have a justification that agricultural land is suitable.
That land is suitable, basically, based on the topic.
Then keep soil quality monitoring records. At least you should have a macronutrient concentration, NPK, pH, soil organic matter, salinity, and heavy metal content. These five parameters should be there. Micronutrients, it is your priority. You can, as per your
Depending on the
yeah.
soil.
So at least you should have a soil quality monitoring record for these kind of parameters. And
For these points, you can also take the university reports for that particular area.
yeah, you can take, but again you must have evidence of that
It's a
while doing third party.
It would be better first of all samples to
Because
analyze and
What universities will have that they will have a sample taken maybe 5 or 2 years, 3 years back, which will not be applicable for this season, because after continuous use of pesticide.
here in Department of Agriculture of Bangladesh. So every year they do first of the farmers. They do their analysis.
Yeah.
Sample that is available online.
Yeah.
So can we use that?
Yeah, you can use that again. If you want to cross check, you can randomly select one sample and again cross check with it, whether to check the that validity of that particular data.
In Rajasthan, for a human project, we were
And using it on their field. So this question is applicable for them only. Otherwise, you can answer it as a not applicable. If applicable, then you must have a plan to reduce the use of peat, because it is not allowed to use this kind of soil in your farm. Because
The sediments from river and that
these are actually can be said, we can say it as allowed, because these are not non-renewable. It is a renewable source.
So the sediments from the river or the canal
Yeah.
lakes
Yeah.
can be
Can be used.
used.
what do they use? What soil treatment?
Charu matti they use because whenever there is a renovation happens, when they dig these canals
To use, if any non-renewable sources used, then a plan must be in place to phase out uses of those next 3 years. Then next is a demonstrate compliance with national legal obligations with respect to soil management, soil conservation, and soil fertility. So, as far as my knowledge is concerned, I don't find any national legal obligations in India with respect to soil management and soil conservation.
There are none.
Yeah, there are not. In Western countries there are, because to keep a riparian strip near the water courses, it is a must in Indonesia. Like that in India, there is no legal requirement. So we can say that use of means doing farming on own land, not the government land. Then doing farming in a proper way, using proper soil management techniques, and without polluting the soil. So then these practices we can consider under a legal obligation. So if your farmers are doing that, you can say it as a applicable or compliance to this question. So these legal obligations typically relate to erosion control or IPM strips, then organic matter. In Western countries there are some legal obligations, but in India I didn't find anything.
That is related to agriculture land.
Yeah.
There is no legal business. As long as it is registered as a pata possible.
Yeah. Whole land should be there.
Even leasing land, it has a pata
Agreement, yeah.
Yes.
But you can use it as a compost, so it is allowed. and burial on the farm is the only option, as we have already discussed about burial. So you can do it, but it should not be disposed on the land. Or chemical, you are throwing chemicals into soil without any of no use. So it is not allowed. It is a mandatory requirement.
Why do you have that picture as not allowed when he's putting into
That is into drains.
Drains.
No, one other one. Another bin. In a bin when he's disposing it out.
Again, that has to be
This is-
buried, no?
Chemical.
Chemical or that.
He is putting it in general dustbin.
Oh, okay. Chemical is.
If it is intended, there should be a label
Yeah.
saying that this is intended to put.
In normal drains or ditches you can't throw chemical because it can lead to a water process. Then do you have a soil management system in place? That we have already seen what kind of things should be in the soil management. Then is the responsibility clearly assigned for planning and carrying out soil management? So again this responsibility will be of the farmer and your field staff.
So generally the farmer will not have a soil management system.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you should design
I should.
package of practices and recommend to them.
So it will be basically to the cluster of
Yeah.
farmers. This is my management
Yeah.
plan
Yeah.
for soil management.
Exactly. Then do you take crop suitability and environmental implications into account when agricultural land use is expanded? Again, this is related to the expansion where you have to check suitability and expansion environmental implications when land is expanded.
How different is that question from the
Same question. It comes under the record keeping and this comes under the implementation. Then assess and manage the risk of soil erosion. Again, we have seen this soil compaction, soil degradation, soil contamination of new and existing agricultural land. If there is a risk, then you have to take corrective action and it should be documented. If there is a risk, then yes, there is a risk. What correction action you have suggested to them? Manage soil organic matter to reach or maintain the optimum concentration. So you have, for this you have to carry out the soil testing. Based on that you can recommend the organic sources like compost, cow dung, FYM, vermicompost. You can suggest to farmers so that your organic matter will increase in the soil. So loss of organic matter can be minimized by using minimum tillage techniques. Then it can be restored or least improved by incorporating stable bulky organic matter like crop residues you can incorporate in the soil, and use of green manure, stubbles, crop residues for incorporation. So that you can do for increasing organic matter content on the soil.
Tillage means basically,
Intercultural operations.
it's like removing digging the top layer. Tilling the
Starting of soil erosion. Maybe you can have a bunds around the farm to avoid the soil erosion. In case if you, next question is about the corrective action. So if we observe soil erosion is happening on the field, then you have to take corrective action. Again, these are the same kind of things. You have to just preventive and corrective actions kind of thing against the soil erosion, soil compaction, soil degradation. Next is keep record of soil quality monitoring for at least 5 years. For you can now start keeping it from this year. So it will have a concentration of soil macronutrients, pH, organic matter and salinity and nutrients and heavy metals. So that's we have already seen.
In this, do we have to show when we keep this 5 years record?
Yeah.
We have to show improvement year after the year?
Yeah.
Is that improvement a must or it's preferable?
Preferable, not must.
Because of practices that we adopt?
Yeah. There should be some improvement in the organic carbon. Because only improvement you can see in organic carbon. Otherwise pH will most probably pH will remain the same as it is. But organic, when your organic carbon level will increase, it will have impact on your yield and quality. So that you can show. This is the end of the soil chapter. Move to to next chapter, that is water. I think this is a small chapter. It has only 4 mandatory questions and 10 must questions and 8 should questions.
So when we update assessment,
Yeah.
so is it
Keep irrigation water quality visit. It is the most requirement. Then keep irrigation application records. Irrigation application records are quite easy to maintain for drip irrigation farmers. But if farmers are using the other techniques like flood irrigation, then it is quite difficult to measure the quantity of water used by the farmers. So for that you have to develop your own technique to monitor the water quantity used.
in drip you can, because they only give basing upon the HP, then how much water it will come. So and what system, because I was also kind of getting confused when you were doing this. So how much water you are taking? The technique which we can do
Yeah.
What about fixing the flow meters?
no, that's me. But in a drip irrigation system,
Evapotranspiration. These figures are not necessary to have for each farmers, but you can have it from meteorological lab of this region. Evapotranspiration and field capacity.
What is the evapotranspiration?
How much water goes into the environment?
Evaporation.
Yeah, due to evaporation. And field capacity is the capacity at which means this is the parameter which farmers use to derive at when to irrigate that land. So what they do in general, farmers make a round of the soil and just throw it on the farm. If it crumbles, then it is necessary to irrigate the soil. So this is the basic method what they are using to derive the field capacity. If it remains same as it is, then there is no need to irrigate.
generally farmer technique will be looking at the crop.
Yeah.
When it gets about to width,
Yeah.
they will irrigate. Generally road,
Yeah.
seaside.
Then time and date of irrigation, location will be the field angle, application technique and the operator, and calibration and testing of equipment. It is irrigated when the irrigation pump was maintained that record. Then next is a mandatory question. What is the area of land that is irrigated for the cropping question? So you have to enter only area of that particular farmer or unit, hectare or acre. And next one is what is the total irrigation volume for current year for that particular crop, and unit will be liters.
It's a per unit. It's a for the crop and it is for the year, whole year.
Yeah, but you can consider as a season,
Okay.
not a year, because maybe farmer will have 2 crops of
Okay, coming to turmeric is a long duration
Yeah.
crop. So first question, second one is I don't think so it is okay. Because it's a 9 months crop.
Yeah.
So 2 months anyhow you keep
Yeah.
vacant, so don't any apply anymore.
Yeah.
So first one is the thing mandatory also. Second one you can say not applicable because
No,
it
not
is a-
available, not
It is a
available.
mandatory.
Mandatory. You have to answer it how much water has been used.
Because the same, the answer would be same.
Same.
The above.
No, above you have to write down area and
What is the area?
And here-
What is the
So water.
Water quantity.
Volume of water.
then demo
What is the total area and then unit?
unit will be hectare or acre.
10 hectares.
There you just put the number 10
Yeah.
and
So
below you write as hectare.
Hectare or acre.
This is the question.
Yes. This is required.
So here is the total area.
Okay, you just enter the
Figure.
digit.
Or hectare. The next one will be the
What's the calculation on Vega? Because I have been trying to get a hang around it every time I get a different.
yeah in
In Rajasthan, they call it as a bigger.
4 acre means 4 bigha they consider 1 acre. In some parts they consider 2.5 acre is
2.5 is generally
yeah.
what we experience.
in some parts of Gujarat they consider only 2 bigha is 1 acre. So it is quite different.
Different.
So it is better to use acre or
Acre or
hectare.
hectare.
Yeah.
Because Rajasthan, everybody talks about Vega.
2.5 on acre.
So there everybody talks about Vega and I have a long.
നമ്മുടെ calculation for based on 2.5 acre is equal to 1 acre like this.
360 by 360 feet, it goes to 6 bigger.
Then demonstrate compliance with the legal obligations with respect to using and protecting water.
Again, what?
Again, there are no such legal obligations with respect to the water use, but you have to make sure that if farmer is taking water from the river, then he should have a permission to take that water from that river, maybe a permission from the collector office or district office. And as far as other things are concerned, he should not pollute the water, so that you have to check.
Here that water.
How would you answer in that
will come
case?
into
Sorry?
picture.
Legal complaints, if he is
As
carrying
I
a
said, the farmer needs to have a, here they're not using river anyway.
river, when he uses ground water,
Fluke well or
it's a bore water.
a over.
Bore water because government has permitted to get a bore, so it's a complaint.
Yeah. If somebody is using from river, then he should comply.
So in the question, yes, no, not
Yes,
applicable.
yes,
what do you
yes.
say?
Yes.
We
As
just
far
say
as
yes.
legal obligations are concerned, yes. The questions which are not applicable, like that soil chemical fermentation.
No,
or
mandatory, we cannot answer anything not applicable. You have to
Not
be
You
clear.
you can answer, but it should be properly not applicable.
But in the observation, we have to give the reason.
Yeah.
But the water act also comes into picture.
Sorry.
Then you prove, which body you prove? Alright.
Then we will move to the next requirement. This requirement we have already seen in second chapter. Confirm that neither you nor your workers ever dispose of any of the following streams and rivers: agrochemicals, washings, containers, medicines, plastic waste, manure, and untreated human sewage. So it is not allowed actually. So this is again mandatory requirements. Then assess use and recharge rate of water sources used for irrigations. So how you will assess and assess use and recharge rates of water sources. What are the water sources here in your region?
Borewell.
Bore well and well.
Tube wells.
Tube wells. So tube wells you can visually see about the availability of the water, whether water is available or will remain available in the summer season. So based on that you have to plan your irrigation, considering the availability of the water. In case of bore wells, you can just see the flow of the water through the tube. So based on that again you have to plan the irrigation. Or you can check the water table if there are any research going on about the water data, so that you can check. So those kind of things you have to check, but there is no need to keep any document related to things. It is just an education or awareness kind of thing that you have to ask to the farmers to do. So farm pond you can visually observe. Well, you can drop in the water table, you can see it visually. And river again in visual observation. Okay. Then next is about the water harvesting operation. Monitor water harvesting operation to check they don't adversely affect downstream areas. First question is whether this situation is applicable to your fields. Water harvesting.
I don't think so. When most of the farmers they are saying drip irrigation, I don't think so they are applicable.
So if it is applicable, then you have to check whether when water is and they have constructed some bunds and all or check dams and all, you have to ensure that the following users are not affected.
So generally in Indian context, the government has laid down principles on this. So if something is doing like
Yeah.
this, government only will make it.
Government only like
Because the upstream people can't put.
Right. Then carry out a risk assessment to protect surface and groundwater from direct and indirect pollution. So there are sources of pollution like siltation through sediments. Suppose your well is at a lower elevation, so everything from upper elevation will get into the river and sedimentation will happen. So it will affect the water quality. Then pollution from nutrients. If you are washing the fertilizer bags near water courses, the pollution from nutrients will happen. Then again same thing with the pollution from agrochemicals and chemicals. Pollution from fuels, lubricants and solvents. Pollution from contaminated runoff. It is from the runoff from the ditches or sewers, you can have pollution from that sources, pollution from the rest of. If you are washing animals near water courses or in the river, so again it is chance of water pollution, pollution from human sewage and pollution from wastewater. So considering all these points, you have to carry out the risk assessment and again suggest the corrective actions if there is such a risk you observe.
Couple of places
Yes,
I've seen this question on pollution from human sewage.
The
Timing of the irrigation, then method of irrigation, frequency of irrigation, and actual water requirement of that particular crop. You should have to enlist all these requirements, and based on that, you have to prepare a irrigation management plan. So, again, is the timing and amount of irrigation tailored to crop requirements to meet a plant yield and quality levels are under local conditions. So, you have to derive at what time frequency it should be irrigated and how much it should be irrigated.
What is the difference between first and second?
It
First
is
is
a part,
management plan.
yeah, it is a part of the first.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a
And as
eight
per
point.
that is the timing and amount tailored to crop requirements.
Okay, so the first one is the policy and the
Mm.
second one is
Second
the
one
Requirement. So you can use a irrigation scheduling methods for this, but for this you must have a equipment for this to derive the irrigation scheduling methods.
It is for a crop like, turmeric they have given broadly, basing upon the irrigation scheduling, when to give, because it might be basically a crop stage,
Correct.
is a granule main stage or tuber incision stage.
Exactly.
Basing upon that, irrigation schedules are there, that can be taken.
Yeah.
And only you have to localize that one basing upon your size.
Okay.
So it's not an
Correct. Then do you monitor irrigation water quality? So monitor means you have to test your water quality. Again, you can select a cluster to test the water sample. Or you can have a sample from, suppose if there is a community well, then you can take a sample from that well and test it against the parameters.
basically biological oxygen demand.
Not biological oxygen, mainly EC is required, pH is required and salinity is required.
BOD is not.
Yeah, BOD is not required.
EC, pH and
Salinity.
Salinity.
Yeah.
And this one, the salmonella restoration.
Yeah.
So drinking water may be required for
Yeah.
occupational health and
Yeah.
safety. That
For
part,
that BOD.
that principle is required.
Then is equipment maintained in good working order through the growing season. So if irrigation pump is there, you should maintain it properly so that it can through the desired flow and it should work properly so that it will consume again less electricity if it is maintained in good working order. So that you have to check. So this is about the water section. And sixth is the energy. It has 2 mandatory questions and 13 must questions. What kind of energy required on the farm? Do you have any? Yes. What do you think?
So generally images would be fuel energy
Yeah.
and this wood energy, boiling and this
retain electricity for pumping.
electricity for pumping. These were the three major.
Yeah. Mainly three energies. Like in this case, fertilizer.
Fuel, food also comes under fuel, right?
239.
So fuel and electricity.
Should this how much?
Should this 12?
Okay, thanks.
So it also considers the energy used for producing the fertilizers, but again you don't have to calculate this energy. In full farm tool, there is one full farm tool developed by Unilever or Muddy Woods to calculate the carbon footprint. So they have
Full farm,
yeah.
is it available?
Yeah, it is available. So you have to use that tool and calculate the carbon footprint.
That he will take after this.
Okay.
Okay, then energy or fuel use for the tractors, then electricity for the pumps and transportation energy for transporting the chemicals. But these two energies, the fertilizer energy and transportation energy, you need not to calculate.
Which one we don't need to calculate? Transportation and
Transportation and energy used for producing the fertilizers.
producing fertilizer.
Yeah.
So it can be full farm.
Yeah.
So but this energy like fuel energy
Yeah.
and electricity.
Electricity you have to monitor.
Monitor and calculate.
How do you calculate that?
Electricity is either
units,
Units.
and the other one is liters.
liters.
It's on a monthly basis.
Monthly, 3 monthly, maybe.
Half season basis.
Because some, in
But
some,
what is the thing? By doing that, what do you achieve?
Other carbon print
will be
for
useful for calculating the carbon footprint.
Who's going to do that?
You are going to do that using tool farming.
Oh.
And sir, I know objective under sir. നമ്മുടെ ഇത്ര ലെവൽ കുറയ്ക്കാവുന്ന that becomes one major objective.
Okay.
അത് ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ
See, for that matter, let me ask you, if you're pumping water, you have a period of pumping.
പക്ഷെ അപ്പൊ ആ പമ്പിന്റെ മെയിൻ്റനൻസ് കറക്റ്റ് ആയിരിക്കണം. അപ്പൊ സ്വാഭാവികമായിട്ട്
Efficiency good.
ആ, അങ്ങനെ എല്ലാ കാര്യങ്ങളും പക്ക വരുവാണെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഇലക്ട്രിസിറ്റി റൈറ്റ് ലോക്ക് ചെയ്യുക. ഒരു പക്ഷെ അതൊന്നും നടക്കില്ല.
So like other chapters, you also should have an energy management plan in which you have to enlist an emphasis on increasing energy efficiency, measuring energy use, avoiding wastage of energy, avoiding unnecessary operations and using appropriate machinery. So all these things you should consider while planning your energy management plan.
Don't run.
I will share this.
Yeah, he is giving you the thing, no?
Yeah, that's okay.
PPT.
But these are key points which needs to be.
This book itself is big.
That is again different. സർ ഇത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് എൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് വരെ ഇതൊക്കെ തരാൻ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട്.
No, I'll come to.
I know.
She will be doing the studying and she will be teaching us.
Yeah.
And then next is demonstrate lack of alternatives to using fire in land preparation is applicable. So if you are using fire, you must have a justification, but in practice it should be avoided. If possible, it should be avoided. If it is yeah.
Compulsory, then you have to have.
So bonfire is not allowed.
No.
All party bonfire should be banned.
അല്ല ഇനിയിപ്പം നമ്മുടെ ഇതിൽ വരുമ്പോ ചുക്ക് സർട്ടിഫിക്കേഷൻ വരുവാണെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ we have a major problem with this. If you are taking ginger for certification, then we have to control this.
Next is keep a record of risk assessment and the resulting actions. Risk assessment related
Question,
to
why actually it is told not to do?
Because of the carbon emission.
Okay.
The base.
Otherwise it is nothing to do with any other.
Because that is where you are destroying carbon and greenhouse gases.
See, that means in cold regions, these guys sit under the, fire.
No, that should not be done.
You know the union.
You should have some different heaters. Maybe if you go to northeast place, they will have heaters in rooms.
Okay, we have heaters and all. The farmer guy, how we survive this? You are trying to save the farmer and you are asking him to not to burn it. Where will he going to?
You should have proper justification. And with some suitable material, maybe I can use some other
Okay,
material.
what does control unit say for that?
only justification is required. Maybe you can give a temperature list.
Otherwise, if he doesn't burn it, he will die. So he has to.
So keep a record of risk assessment and the resulting action. Risk assessment considering the mainly you have to consider the tractor uses and the electricity uses on the farm. So based on that you have to carry out risk assessment whether fuel is stored correctly or electricity or electric pump is maintained correctly. Installation wires are not near,
Touching.
not touching to the ground or at a proper height so that it will not affect any user on the field. So that is the risk assessment you have to do, and keep operator training record. It is a must record. And demonstrate compliance with the national legal obligations with respect to energy use related emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, fuels, electric power, and fuel burning installation where they are relevant for farming. So in case of national legal obligation, as far as emissions are concerned, there are no such emissions with respect to the agriculture use. But in case of use of electricity, it should be legally obtained from the legal source. Bills should be paid correctly. So hence it is recommended to keep the electricity bills with them, with the farmers, so that it can be proved that they are using the correct or legal way of electricity, legal, from
Most of the
legal.
farmers, they get free electricity.
3 years.
Free
So
electricity.
that there you can have a government order the document. So
Free power.
പക്ഷെ ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ടൊന്നും കിട്ടുന്നില്ല
Free power on it, but they get 1 hour, half an hour, in a day.
so,
Rich people get power. Yeah.
They are not getting anything free.
Only for the flood irrigation, there is a problem. The water goes this way, there is no power. Again, the water goes through the same way. There is no issue.
And from that, neither you nor your workers take fuel from imported habitats or protected natural areas where this is forbidden or constitutes a threat to the size or integrity of the area. Somewhere it is practiced that farmer take fuel wood from the forest, so it is not allowed.
That's not applicable in our case. No. What do you mean by field box? I don't understand that.
Sorry, feed box is kind of the soil in the forest which is highly nutritious, because if you see the soil in the forest, it is not tilled for so many years, since it has so many nutrients in it. So farmers take it from that forest and use it in the field to increase the
As
productivity.
a fuel,
As a fuel again, some use as a fuel, so it can be burned.
soil can be used
Yeah.
as a fuel.
Use as a fuel means what we call it as a
Like a cake.
we use as a rotten wood. Rotten wood is also part of the pit, so it can be burned.
And what about the twigs and all which holds in the place forest? That can be taken?
Yeah, if it is allowed, it can be taken.
Because
Collection of firewood
Whatever
again.
it is, that is the thing it will come somewhere.
no, no, no. Rajasthan is the forest.
And it comes under forest land.
Yeah,
Forest land, but there is no forest land.
ഇവിടെ പോയില്ലേ നമ്മള് ഹരിയുടെ സ്ഥലം എന്താണ് ബിഗുറ അവരുടെ അകത്തേക്ക് കയറുന്നതിന് മുമ്പുള്ള ലാൻഡ് ഇല്ലേ ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഫോറസ്റ്റ് ലാൻഡ് ആൻഡ് ദേ ടേക്ക് വുഡ് ഔട്ട് ഓഫ് ദാറ്റ് ഫോറസ്റ്റ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ കാട് കയറുന്നില്ല ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഫോറസ്റ്റ് ലാൻഡ് ദാറ്റ് ഈസ്
For Rajasthan, that is the forest.
To Rajasthan, that is the forest. He is under the impression full of trees. It is there, forest lands are there.
No, we can have, if they cut, we will ask them to plant, one more plant.
They're not cutting, no, they're not cutting.
No,
They're-
that's what I
Collection-
asked. If you fix whatever.
collection is actually some of the forest officer allowed the collection of the
Certain
fallen
plants.
Yeah,
Certain plants.
collection of fallen or dead trees. So that can be done, but again it should be obtained legally. From the permission should be legal from the forest officer for
Only
collection.
see, when farmer is collecting, it is majorly, he is collecting for your agricultural usage, for your particular crop, then you have to store. If he is collecting for his own house purpose, so it doesn't come under purview of certification.
Yeah, still again even we have training.
But I think SAM ensures that also.
Yeah.
Even for home purpose.
So that's what we can find them only, but when you are not using on your crop, this thing you can't document.
Because cutting of tree is different and collection
Collection is different.
collection is different. Because collection they can get a permission for collection, but for cutting they will not get a permission.
Collection, some fruits from the forest they can collect. Government allows
Yeah.
certain species they can collect from them. That is allowed, but you should provide a law saying that this is allowed.
Hello.
I think anyway is not allowed at any point. Any tree is not allowed. Except if it is own forest land,
Yeah.
own this
Own.
eucalyptus plantation, he is allowed,
Yeah.
but not forest.
Do you have a documented energy plan in place designed to reduce energy consumption? That we have already seen what are the requirements of energy management plan should be there. It should emphasis should be on reducing the energy consumption or effective use of energy. Then if you use the fire in land preparation, have you taken measures to demonstrate that there are no viable alternatives? Normally only on recommendation of an authority that is given, that is for phytosanitary and public health reasons, it is allowed. So you should have proper justification if you are using fire for land preparation.
That's what I was saying about India. They are saying good for health, doctor has to say. You should have a document, doctor has said that it is allowed, it is good for health, so they can burn. If we have, we can do.
There is no doctor and there is no prescription.
You should ask Dr. Surendran to.
Certified.
Then he will be in jail.
Carry out the risk assessment for liquid fuels, lubricants, if you are using a transport vehicle at the farm, then machines, generators, boilers, pumps, power tools, electrical installations and power lines, the impacts of sourcing fuel wood from and other biomass. Again, this question is under should, so you can skip it, but it is related to fuel wood, hence I put it in here. So you have to carry out risk assessment considering these four, and again disposal of ash if you are using fire. So how you are going to dispose ash, it also consider, you should also consider during your risk assessment, because you can't throw ash into your soil, it will affect the soil quality. If you
You
use,
cannot apply ash.
Isn't
If you
ash
use
used
overdose.
as manure?
yeah,
Isn't ash used as manure?
ash actually not allowed to use as a manure, because
Why?
some farmers use ash to control the pest in their field, but ash has a negative impact on soil nutrients.
നാരായണ അവിടുന്നുള്ള പോലുള്ള ആശൊക്കെ ഞാനാ കൊണ്ടുപോണേ. ജാതിക്കൊക്കെ കണ്ടുപോയി ഞാൻ നഷ്ടപരിഹാരത്തിന് കേസ് വെച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടോ?
They are giving it you free.
Free of cost, so
You
what?
want you to take it.
നാളത്തെ സസ്റ്റൈനബിൾ ജാതിക്കാണ് നിങ്ങൾ നശിപ്പിച്ചു കളയുന്നത്.
Even they use ash for controlling it.
Because the conventional that we have heard at least is that
Even we
ash
have the
is-
practice of applying ash for
Coconut plantation.
coconut, even the other plants like nutmeg and all, we apply ash.
How much you have applied?
Not that much.
Yeah, but
Just
if
out
you're-
the border.
yeah, if you're burning it, then it will create a huge amount of ash. So it will have a negative, like overdose of anything.
No,
will have-
from the boiler we are collecting ash. That has been.
That's byproduct you can use.
Yeah. Again, as I said that ash can be used as a to control some amount of pest, but if you are using as a overdose of ash, then it will have a negative impact. On the
That
soil.
affects the soil.
Yeah. Soil nutrition. It will.
Nutrition.
Yeah.
No, you try and find out how many bags you're putting and whether it's whether it's affecting or not. First you find out that, then you will class your contributors.
The next is to confirm that you do not dispose of waste solvent, plastic CPPs, medical waste, etc. in boilers or incinerators unless they are explicitly rated as safe for the kind of use. Incinerators, actually we don't observe here in India. This is the incinerator. Then they burn all the things.
Yeah.
So,
The certain houses have now.
yeah. It should not be done, at least for plastic CPPs and waste solvents.
In Tamil Nadu, it should be challenging this thing.
Can you just show me the previous years, like
Boilers, steam boilers,
yeah.
and boiling and wastewater is a big part to be taken.
Okay.
But if you have sufficient measures like meeting the PCB requirements,
Yeah.
then it is okay, right?
Yeah.
If you have an incinerator and you burn off things, then it is okay.
Yeah, if you must have permission for this.
From the
Yeah,
BCB.
yeah.
For household,
For household, like actually it is not given, I mean, not under the scope of household.
because one guy is behind
It's
us.
done by the farmer for the tractors that they use or electrical installations. Then you should provide a PPEs that are fit for use and wherever required, and ensure that the farmers or operators are trained on how to use the PPEs. So then it is done by the farmers, it is applicable. Otherwise, farmers are
You
not there.
also audit the electrical, most of the things what happen, they have to transformer type things and use wires. That is also taken into consideration.
Yeah, yeah. Power installation should be
Sealed and,
yeah. It should not pose any hazard to the
But in fire brigade,
power lines are lying very low, so hence it is a risk of touching the wires.
so
So
that comes under occupational health and
Yeah.
safety.
this is about the energy. So seventh chapter is the waste. It contains 3 mandatory questions, 22 must questions. and 18 should questions. As far as the record keeping is concerned, this chapter don't require any record keeping as a must requirement. You can have the records, but it are categorized under should. So either you can have it or don't have it. No problem with the compliance. So keep a record to demonstrate the lack of alternatives to use fire for disposal of hazardous residues. If you are burning the hazardous residues, then you should have a justification why it has been burned.
So that applies to turmeric.
Yeah, if they are burning it.
They are
hazardous
burning
residue. Okay. So there should be a proper justification for that. Why they burn it? They
They
can't
use it as a fuel for the steam oil.
Okay.
And one other thing.
Okay. They can use it as a fodder to the animals?
No.
It cannot.
They can use it as a compost?
They can, but it is, see, if they use as a fuel, otherwise they have to cut wood.
Okay.
So it is better to use this.
Okay, then you have a justification, then there is no need to worry about this. Then keep waste management related training records. Waste management related training records, what training we will have? Need for the waste segregation. So actually this chapter is mainly designed for the big plantations or tea estates for kind of those things, because they will have a lot amount of waste, like waste segregation should be, the stream should be there, the stream should be there, the waste solid waste will be there, liquid waste will be there. So you have to train the farmers about the waste segregation, at least the solid waste or chemical waste and non-chemical waste, or you can say as a crop residue as chemical waste. Proper storage and waste disposal. So for chemical waste like containers and all, you have to train them about how to dispose them or how to store them, and then waste management practices, how you are going to utilize your crop residues and how you are going to dispose the empty chemical containers or empty chemical bags, fertilizer bags, that you have to train your farmers about waste management.
But then this is only about training,
Yeah.
because otherwise it's getting duplicated on the chapter.
Yeah, chapter 2. Then demonstrate compliance with national legal obligations with respect to reuse, disposal and recycling of both hazardous and non-hazardous waste. So as far as agriculture waste is concerned, there is no such national legal obligation. There are some legal obligations with regard to the chemical waste which are generated from the processing plant from industries. But as far as agriculture waste is concerned, there are no such national legal obligations. But proper disposal of empty containers is a major thing which you have to look into, because farmers can throw it into the wherever they want. So you have to train them or educate them to use a proper disposal method for
So when you
disposal.
address the system, it is a mandatory
Yeah.
requirement, and we don't have any national legal
Yeah.
obligation. So then we say, what is the system, what we have in
Yeah,
place?
yeah. Then confirm that hazardous waste is not stored in areas where unauthorized people have access. Suppose they are storing empty containers in a designated place, but it has access to the children. So that area should be covered or locked, or maybe burial is a good option, because it will not affect anything if children have access to that place also. So children are below 18 years should not have access to the waste storage area.
Again, that will again become a problem with northern country, northern part of this place, where 18 years is difficult.
Yeah.
Because people they start with the small age.
Yeah.
So that needs to be controlled.
In that case, one national law will overcome this kind of thing, because our national law it says if child is 15 or less than 15 years.
Okay.
So you can use our national law, because national law
It can be, so if children, his family is supporting his father, doesn't come under child.
Okay.
If he engages child in his outside as a labor, then it comes.
And you have to add one more point. If he is working on his farm, that is not a problem, but his education should not be hampered.
Education should not be done.
Not during the school hours
School hours. Holidays he can help his father or mother.
or after school hours.
After school hours he can help.
And-
That doesn't come under the child.
Yeah, and in he should not perform any means intensive work on the farm.
A small works he can do. That, for example, in cotton generally, if in every kind of situation, father and mother or children will come, and holidays are school days. Because sometimes if you ask go the children, father and mother also will go and they will see. So that way when we have come to them, if father, if a child, if he is helping father or mother in his own farm, doesn't come under labor, but he has to, he should be doing his own education. He should not be burdened with the heavy good work, but it doesn't come under labor. If you engage outside anybody for the purpose, and this is again you have to justify.
Here, this point is not relevant to that.
No, this is not.
This is not
Because
relevant.
Hazard.
It is only the access
This is
to
non-accessible.
I think that will come in the other chapter.
social and human capital. We confirm that hazardous waste is not stored in location where foreseeable events such as heavy rain or machinery breakdowns may result in leakage or losses to the environment. The waste store should be away from the water sources. Suppose flood comes and takes away all the waste, then it will cause again pollution. So make sure that waste is stored is confined to that particular area and should not result into any losses or pollution. Hazardous waste storage should be located away from the farm well, housing, offices, school and food storage. Do you have a waste management plan in a place? It should not be documented, but there should be a plan of what kind of waste are generated on the farm, how to dispose of the things. So that should be there. And the plan should include the estimates of the major waste flows that emanate from the production of the farm or the unique raw materials. So in case of our farmers or smallholders, there are only two kinds of waste. One is the empty chemical containers and fertilizer bags, and second one is about the crop residues. So these are the two kinds of waste. So you have to just focus on those two and how to utilize or how to dispose of those two wastes that you have to make a mention in your plan. Then does the plan list waste reduction, reuse and recycling options already in place and those are under investigation, and routes of energy recovery or disposal for other waste. So if you can reuse the waste, it is good, but chemical waste you can't reuse. So that you have to just reduce it. So if farmer is purchasing 500 ml bottle in 2 times, so you can ask him to purchase 1 liter bottle at one time. So waste will reduce. So in that case you can think in that way. As far as crop residue is concerned, you can ask them to generate energy. As you said, they are using it as a fuel, so they can do that. Is the plan documented? See, this requirement is categorized in the sheet, so there is no need to have document. Only plan should be in the place, and farmer should be trained on that. Separate waste streams and stores and manage them separately. So waste stream, the gutters or streams should be separate from the solid waste, so that segregation and disposal can happen easily. If you are mixing the waste streams and solid waste, and it will get choked up somewhere, or it will create odor or polluting a bad odor area near your farm. So make sure that you have to separate waste, but it is applicable to big farms. Your farms will not have a waste streams kind of thing, maybe. Easier to store and dispose, and mixed waste create hazards. That's why it is the requirement. And do you take measures to ensure that waste storage locations don't create safety and health hazard? Storing inflammable material close to flames, waste blocking escape routes, like that. So you have to make sure. Excuse me. Then ensure that waste is properly labeled and contained. So waste storage location must be labeled and contain and organized so that contains. You can have a dig or a pit where you can have a storage location, waste store location. And it should be confined and it should not spill or leak or blow around. Ensure that waste stores are not combined with new material stores. So if you are storing empty chemical containers with new chemical containers, it is actually not allowed. But in case of small farming, or if they are using some 2 bottles, 3 bottles, then you can combine the stores, making sure that it will not affect this. Suppose expired CPPs are there and you are storing it with the new material, so it will have effect.
Yeah.
So make sure that that effect will not happen in case of small.
And what about like the washing of the equipment and all you told, no, we will take it into a pit and
Yeah.
it is released. Again, the testing of that water is
No.
also necessary.
No. And if there are no national regulation for the storage of different types of hazardous waste, do you seek guidance on the best available options locally available for safe storage? So, as far as agricultural waste is concerned, there is no such national regulation, since we said that the burial is the best option. Are your hazardous waste stores constructed and located to minimize risk to the people, to the environment, including during emergencies such as fire or flood, and separated from non-hazardous waste in a fence, log, or cabinet? So, again, hazardous waste and non-hazardous waste. It is to have a different store is a requirement of big estates and big farms. In case of small farms, you can have a combined store, making sure that it will not affect anything. Like if you are storing chemical containers with the crop residues and all, it should not spill onto the crop residue, otherwise it will get affected. Do you have a separate storage areas for different types of hazardous waste? In this case, different types of hazardous waste means, suppose in case of big farms, you will find chemical containers, fuels, lubricants, then glass pieces, plastic. So these kind of waste can come under big farm. But in case of small farms, you will find only the empty chemical containers. So for that, if amount of waste is small, the best option to combine the storage area. Proper care must be taken to avoid mixing of the waste. Do you have procedures in place for provision and use of spill kits, sandbags, drain covers to ensure that hazardous waste escapes do not lead to significant human and environmental risk? Like the chemical storage area, you must have a sandbag. If spill happens, you can throw the sand on that spillage so that it can remain confined and it not cause any effect. So for in same manner, you must have a sandbag in case of chemical or hazardous storage area. For small volume of liquid waste, a small bag of dry sawdust and sand kept inside waste store is recommended.
And again, that sand or sawdust used to be disposed as per
Same like
into the pit.
yeah. If they are used for.
And all these needs record also again sandbag
No. If there are no national regulations for safe disposal of different types of hazardous waste, do you seek guidance on the best available options locally? So this we have already seen in case of non-hazardous waste. If fire is used for disposal of harvest residues or stubble, can you demonstrate that there is no viable alternative? So in the first question is came that you must have a justification to use the fire. Then next is about the incinerators. Are all incinerators and burning sites in legal locations and fit for purpose? For incinerator, you must have a legal permission to have an incinerator.
So if it is burning, if it is incinerated in the field,
You must have a legal permission for it. Do you take measures to ensure that waste materials such as
Are
PVC?
there incinerators used? I don't think.
not that's what I was
Burning sites, for that what kind of legal approval can we take?
But
Yeah.
Incinerator is of course a kind of machinery, so maybe we can look for, but that is not being used in the field that where we are active now. Burning sites as such.
hazardous waste, hazardous waste you cannot burn unless you have animal incinerator.
Yeah, hazardous waste you can't burn.
Above market and above ensuring that you can do. There's legal compliance.
So I have a doubt in this place also. If I am this other special condition, I am digging a field and burying it, does it require legal permission?
No.
Okay.
But if you are burning,
burning you require.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
burning-
again you are emitting,
So if you burn, you require. If
Yeah.
you bury, not.
no need.
Again, at village level, burning means who will monitor the burning if farmer burns? So that is also an issue.
So how can that be answered? Usually as not applicable?
No, it should be a part of risk assessment. So whenever your field staff will visit, they have to make sure that they have to see that whether that farmer is burning plastic or not. If he is burning, then you have to train that farmer not to burn that plastic. But if he is not using or not burning, then not applicable. And do you take measures to ensure that waste materials such as PVC and certain other plastics are never burnt on open fires or in low temperature incinerators, since these materials give rise to hazardous fumes when burnt inefficiently? So that is what we have
Only
discussed.
when burnt inefficiently or whenever it's burnt?
When it give rise to the hazardous fumes. But
It says when burnt inefficiently.
yeah,
Even if it's burnt efficiently also it is still,
but
efficiently
in
it was
incinerators they
very
burn plastics.
what, you're not supposed to burn plastic.
What kind of plans can you get?
Incinerators,
You have to follow the ECB guidelines. So that takes care of the legal action.
Yeah.
So then it is applicable.
Okay.
Actually, efficiently എന്നുള്ളത് അതാണ് അർത്ഥം. And all other methods are inefficient.
And next question is about again the big farms where landfill areas you will find on the farms. Have all on-farm landfill or discharge to drains, sewers, surface water, land or groundwater including seeds, feeds, soak waste, septic tanks and pit latrines been documented? So wherever is a landfill area on the farm and what things are going on into that landfill, so that should be documented. So it again part of the big farms where landfill areas are there or burial sites are there, where you bury all the things.
Smallholders.
Smallholders no need to answer this.
Again,
Not applicable.
you cannot like mountain areas, you take out and then you make it a
Yeah.
farmland. That is not possible.
That is not possible.
Okay, so that comes under this.
Yeah.
So but for smallholders this is not applicable.
This is
Even
not
small holders or big holders, it is the same. No? You cannot explore the mountains and.
Yeah, that is other.
Mountains
Yeah,
are not coming here.
that is other. But
This is about
landfill.
demarcating a certain area where you are going to do landfill.
Landfill means dig a big pit,
Okay.
throw all the waste into that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
So this will be not applicable for small farms.
Point should be not applicable.
Following site must be located away from the water courses, landfill disposal sites away, and manure storage area and human sanitary. Again, this is a sub part of the previous question. When such discharges have been documented, have the risk to human and environment safety been assessed and attempts made to improve the situation if significant risks are identified. So if there are landfills, then risk assessment will you carry out risk assessment and take corrective actions if you find a risk to human safety.
So this also will be
Not
non-applicable for
applicable.
us.
And do you ensure that all waste buried on the farm, including domestic waste, is covered with suitable layer of soil? So suitable layer, they have given a particular layer, like 50 centimeter layer, but you must cover it so that it can't come out again back. Burial sites must not leak or leach into the water body, and soil layers must be at least of 50 centimeters.
Just a minute.
On the personal note, I mean, everywhere we find giving a solution as a landfill burial as a solution. Is that not in direct contradictory with the whole sustainable?
Actually, it is, I find it is the best option in India to bury it on the farm. But if you have a facility to collect it and dispose it in a proper way or in a described manner, then that will be a good option. But In case of India, as of now, the barrier,
As of now.
yeah, as of now, yeah, because some suppliers have already started working towards it. Maybe they will collect it and they will dispose of, instead of farmers, suppliers are disposing of chemical, the containers. So that can be done, but as of now, if farmer is burying, then that is the good thing. Instead of throwing it anywhere in the farm. Then this is about again the big farms where sanitary landfills are there. Have all sanitary landfills on the farm been designed according to the requirements of applicable national legislation, where human sanitary things will be there, the storage, that should be there. For small amount of waste, burial is a good solution, and burial site must not leak into the leak or leach into the water bodies. So again, this is for the big farms where sanitary things or sanitary waste will be there. Do you ensure that the litter and other general waste is not thrown into the ditches, streamways or holes that might will cover? You have to do the risk assessment for only the chemical containers. And I don't think if burying is there, it will not have major issues to comply with this requirement, because it will not pose any risk. If that peat is located away from the human community and water supply, it will not pose any risk to the environmental or human. So this is about the waste. Next is the 8th chapter is about social and human capital. So as a industry, you must be aware about those labor laws and all the things. Okay, so those labor laws are same applicable to the field level. Okay, so in that case, the grievance procedure should be there. There should not be use of child labor, pregnant women. Then forced labor should not be there. Then minimum wages should be paid. If they are working overtime, then yeah.
But isn't that for large holdings? Small holders?
Again, it is a yeah. Again, you have to categorize. Means you will find two kind of labors. One is the daily wage labor, and one is a permanent labor. So for permanent labor, these kind of things should be there. But
Do we have for that concept? I thought when it is the harvest, then you will have.
Here also the larger farmer, 10 acres or 15 acres for the farmer, land holding, not for primary. If the farmer is 20 acres, we will have a permanent 1 or 2 acres.
for irrigation purpose, at least.
So the same system applied to the roads. If that farmer is putting one person as a labor, we have to take care of all these things.
So, when you
As far as grievance procedure is concerned or training procedure for the laborers is concerned, that particular laborer should be responsible and that particular farmer should be responsible for giving or benefiting each other. So in that way you can interpret it for the daily wage labor, because it is quite difficult to do it for the daily wage. You can do it for the permanent workers. So you have a grievance procedure for all the things. So in that way you have to treat it.
And again, the PPE becomes the responsibility of the supplier itself, right? Not the farmer. If the farmer is employing a labor,
Yeah.
actually that needs to be.
It is actually the responsibility of the farmer, but you have to provide it on behalf of the farmer.
Farmer.
So that the social and human capital covers all the things about the labor. So we will not go deep in that section 8, that is social and human capital. So mainly the child labor issues you have to look into it, and minimum wages. If minimum wages are less, then you should have a record how much hours he has worked, how much he has get paid, and name of that worker. So these kind of basic records you should have, and if contract is there, it is good in between two, means labor and the farmer.
Labor and the farmer.
Yeah.
If it is not there also, it is okay.
It is okay, verbal contract is okay, but during interviews they should
be able to tell the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Generally it doesn't happen, so it is better to have a document. Because even though when auditor goes, he has done some work in 2 months back, the auditor how much he is paid, he only pays 80 rupees. But the impact is that he worked for only 4 hours, that's why he was paid 80 rupees.
In case of these reports, you should have
Yeah,
maintained,
reports
but
can
in
be
case
there,
of
but
contracts,
I don't know whether.
Contract not required.
yeah, contract,
I
not
don't think
required,
they
yeah.
will.
But they should make sure that during interviews, they should be able to tell the
demonstrate.
yeah.
If labor does, it gives a different answer, the farmer should have a document.
Yeah.
For example, all building contract, let us assume a building contract. Labor comes up without agreement, what he does is, he will take attendance, by when he is leaving space, he will take money and sign it. The same document should be there in the field, so he comes to the field, by leaving the field, he will sign and take money and go. So that he entered 9 o'clock, he left 3 o'clock, he worked for 5 hours, and took 1 hour break, and he got 80 rupees. So it is more than minimum wages.
So when we move to the next chapter, that is value chain and local economy. It is mainly related to the marketing things and how you maintain the profit ratio and all. So in that, this is again should requirement. Do you keep records of yield per unit area? So that record every farmer should keep.
Animal welfare management.
No, animal
That
welfare
doesn't
is
apply to
yeah.
us.
Then yield per unit area, then we will keep simple bookkeeping records, that is basic gross margin per crop, that is profit records should be there. How much he has invested and how much he has received. So that record should be there. So these are quite important. Hence I have mentioned even these are categories as should. Then do you keep records of market information for raw materials produced? So they should at least have a market information about the rates, what are the rates of the particular product, what is the market situation, market trend. So that basic things they should know.
Who should know?
Farmer.
Farm.
Yeah. Then can you demonstrate compliance with national legal obligations with respect to quality, economic, financial, business propriety? It is mandatory. In case of value chain and economy, there is no such. You can have a MSP for some of the products, but it will differ from each product to each product. Some products will not have a MSP. These kinds of minimum support price. And there are no such legal obligations with respect to quality in India, as far as the quality parameters are set by the companies, not by the government. So
How do you answer this part?
you have to make sure that whatever you are telling the quality parameters that should be achieved by the farmers, you can consider those parameters.
So basically,
We will answer yes,
Yeah,
and then we have to substantiate that we ask for certain quality, we are getting certain quality.
yeah,
We are paying them at the market price to
Yeah.
store them for that particular day.
yeah.
And what do you mean by business propriety?
Again, it is related to these things. Business means their business and in relation to your business should not be affected. If they are selling, means if you are giving them less price, if market price is more,
You should not exploit the farmer.
yeah.
Actually, financial and business.
Yeah, moreover.
Legal obligation for this.
Yeah,
So you're going to when you say yes, you have to substantiate with the reason. Now, with respect to quality, you're saying that this is what the quality we expect, this is the quality which we have been delivered.
yeah,
Then on the economic part or the financial part, we are saying that we are paying them a part of the market price,
yeah.
which can be demonstrated at any given point of day.
Like market
Then
value
there is a-
130,
Yeah,
we should not be buying it for 120.
Yeah. So, then comes the business propriety. What does
Yeah.
business?
These are
Economic,
economic
financial,
or
these three are
financial
saying
or
Okay,
business.
that's okay.
Yeah, combined.
or economic
Yeah,
or
or
financial.
financial or business.
And again, this is the same question regarding quality. Can you demonstrate all crop products comply with legal or trade standard limits for CTP residues, microbial contamination, heavy metals, and significant foreign bodies, and any other substances potentially harmful for the consumers?
Again, that depends on product testing.
Product testing and your bias specifications.
Specifications. That needs to be
Yeah.
demonstrated.
When
Those-
you are checking quality, it will be quickly.
Yeah.
So this is the quality 12% of the moisture, the incoming moisture product accepted is within the limits. You
Yeah.
check to demonstrate as per the given standard.
Yes. Because these are mainly questions.
Views also differ from country to country, so how can we generalize that?
Where you are supplying,
Yeah.
that becomes the standard.
Because
If you are
there are
doing
no
the
such
one,
legal
you have to
standards
do
of
that.
India.
But basic,
There are no such legal standards for
okay,
India.
yes, legal standards are
For
there.
particular product.
In India, yes.
But not broadly,
Not
but maybe
broadly, yes.
when it comes to this
Because-
place, we should have one standard
Because
agreement.
particularly for turmeric,
Yeah.
you have heavy metals prior regulations
Okay.
for turmeric.
Yeah.
And when you go for chilies, you have CPP residues.
Yeah.
And microbiological contamination, everywhere it is addressed as salmonella absent.
Yeah. Right.
So we have regulations internally, and to which country we export, based on that country's regulation we have to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
No, we can, in this place, what they say is, we can put, which is stringent marks, you can agree and you can cover.
No, that will not be possible, no.
No, that's an agreement between you and me. So farmer is agreeing for that, so you can have that.
No, if you have a Japan market. So then it is little more relaxed than a EU market.
Then you keep you market.
But then if you don't meet the criteria,
That's what.
Next is again shoot question. Do you aim to optimize your profit margins at tolerable financial risk? So balance of risk, yield and profit. Example, it is not no use of applying fertilizer that will result in higher yield if the labor is not available at the harvest time. So you will, yeah. So you have to make sure the planning should be proper. So if you are,
everything should
yeah,
fall in.
the requirement of the mill, requirement of the factory should be taken into consideration while planning the crop things when it should be harvested. So that all the planning should be there. Do you agree the harvesting schedule plan with your customer at the time of planning? With your, for this question is for the farmers, so their customer is you. So do you agree the harvesting schedule or plan with your customer at the time of planting? So there should be a proper plan given by you. So during that time we want the product. So that
But
plan should
again, agriculture crop, no?
Yeah.
That will always be the same, right?
Yeah. But again, so now you are procuring it from the only 45 farmers. Suppose. But in case of 1,000 or 2,000 farmers, you will get the produce. If you get the produce, all the produce at one go, then it will be difficult to process it at one go. So there should be a planning. So 100 farmers will get produce from for first week.
So we can always store it.
Yeah.
So then this doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This one,
And do you ensure that you harvest when the maximum yield at desired quality has been achieved? So proper harvesting time and proper harvesting technique should be there.
And how will you demonstrate that?
It is only the education thing, or you can ask, or your team must be knowing that what is the desired quality and what should be plucked off from the plant.
Like if you take the case of chilies,
Yeah.
actually it should be plucked when it is fully ripe.
Right.
But farmer getting
Higher
yeah.
weight, yeah.
He feels that now the market is high, so
Yeah.
he like
Yeah.
even half ripe fruit.
Right.
That comes into the
Yeah, yeah. And use the proper methods of harvest that will reduce losses. So make sure that you are using proper methods of harvest.
Okay.
And do you understand the economic implications of some more optimal harvesting so that rational decisions can be made about practices such as second harvest or early harvesting? Again, this is a should, but it is quite important and interesting. Suppose there is forecast of bad weather, then you can harvest it early to reduce the losses. And late harvesting to improve the factory organization. Yeah.
They have to have a justification.
Yeah. Do you optimize field age, storage, transportation times and container filling to prevent losses in the raw material quality for processing? And transportation time between the farm and processing unit should be very less. This may be designed in such a way that the quality will not hamper during the transport. Yeah. If the time is more, then maybe the cold storage
But actually
vehicles.
for spices, it doesn't make much difference.
Yeah, there is no problem with it.
Like your tomatoes.
Vegetables, yeah.
Yeah, doesn't give much effect.
Reduce storage time, minimize transportation time, timely unloading of material at the factory. These are the things you can implement. Can you confirm that you understand your roles and responsibilities in order to comply with your direct customers HACCP plan for consumer safety and product quality? Again, this is related to that legal standard limits. So that plan should be there to ensure that customer is getting good quality material.
It doesn't speak anything about storage of the product.
No,
Nothing is mentioned.
nothing is mentioned. Do you ensure that your harvesting system, whether mechanical, semi-mechanical or by hand, is managed to achieve high product quality? Again, the same proper use of good harvesting technique and harvesting technique should be selected based on the product requirement. Again, this is shoot questions. Crop rotations should be in a place to remove the pest and disease susceptibility, suitability of the crop, and its mutual relation with that particular turmeric in your case. Are your transport system from fields to factory are designed to minimize quality loss of the product? This may be mean of insulation, cooling or reducing crushing in the load. Specialized trailers or trailer inserts may be required. So that cold
Should
storage
not
may
harm the fields.
quality. How you transport your material from here?
From what they do is they collect the material,
Yeah.
they bring it to a common place,
Yeah.
and from there we buy, and then it is transported in trucks and goes to the cold store.
Okay.
And from the cold store, whenever we need, we take out the material and then we use it.
And next is again show
Because
question.
this being the seasonal crop, you will have to wait till next
Yes,
year
right.
for the next crop to come. So there is no other way than storage.
Then do you wherever practical source your inputs and implement close to the farms? So it is again should requirement, but you should source your inputs and implement from the farm or nearby villages.
But again, that becomes a problem, inputs close to the farm, very
Yeah.
difficult.
But
Not
if it is
everybody
available,
knows,
if it is not available, then you have
Then
to
you
go,
have to.
go beyond that. But if it is available, then you should
Then
source
it
it.
is-
Yeah. So this is about the value chain and local economy. That is biodiversity. Again, we will not go question by question. And tell the basic things required for the biodiversity. In biodiversity, there is one major thing what you should have is you should have at least committed to one biodiversity initiative. Okay, so you can have a tree plantation program, or you can assign some work for the bird sanctuary or wildlife area, so that at least you should have a one commitment or one initiative for biodiversity conservation. So these are the quite basic principles of what they have done. Some of the suppliers overall the world, what they have done to conserve the biodiversity. So in this case, this Homer Earth is facing a problem with the owls. So what they have done, they done some research and is built or installed some owl houses in the field, so that it will not affect, or it will provide a safe place to stay there. Otherwise, it is affecting the when they are staying on the plants or on the field, it is affecting the crop. But since they have used it on the they have installed the owl houses for them, so damage has been reduced.
It is compulsory.
Yeah.
We have to do something.
Something.
Planting also.
Planting, conservation of the trees around your farm, that is also big thing, because in India it is quite easy to implement the things regarding the biodiversity, because whenever you go to the farm in India you will find so many trees around the farm, but in western countries you will not find so many trees around the farm. You will get lot of stretches of the only farm area will be there.
And again, does this belong to the farmer or the supplier? Like
Farmer, mainly farmer.
the farmer has to do.
Yeah.
However, you have to educate our
Educate
farmer is
our-
unable to
You can-
do some, you have to have an initiative to do something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe bird nesting area, you can have a bird nesting area, maybe water area where they
You
can take
can
the
think of some
water.
water pond for
No,
floating
here,
or even-
here the owl case
is mainly, what they're saying is,
Yeah,
they are the rodent mice problem.
yeah.
To control that, they put a owl house.
Yeah.
So that the owls will come and stay there, and they will feed on these mice and rodents.
Right, yeah. And because of owls also there was a problem because I spoke to that guy. There was also a problem with the, it means the use of with owls. They can't, means they were having some kind of thing. They were eating something else and damaging the quality of that particular product.
Okay.
So since they are using
So
installed,
is that an example, or
Yeah.
is that an example of not what we should not do?
you should do what
That's
you
an
should.
example for what you should do. You
So
need
control
to
mice is,
whatever-
yeah.
Whatever what main was said, they implemented this as biodiversity.
We'll see the next example, that is.
No,
This is another example.
No, but that, if you should do this, you are stopping one problem, but you are increasing the other one.
Which problem?
Owl's problem. Owl's problem.
No, but since our problem was already there, but not as much as the mice problem. But since they have installed the mice,
What it says is that they uh, have recognized the value of biodiversity on the farm and together installed 15 owl houses in areas of limited tree density. As soon as these boxes were installed, owls moved in. Owls were not there before.
yeah,
And significant evidence of their feeding activity has been found on the nesting site. Although it is unclear whether the owls have reduced the amount of crops damaged by mice and rats, birds have no doubt helped to control the rodent population in the site.
yeah,
So that means using this owl, you have asked the owls to come there,
yeah,
and by asking them to come, definitely they have reduced the damage
mice,
to the crop. But subsequently you have a bigger problem also with the owls there now.
Now, owls being an endangered species, less number of species, as a biodiversity part.
have to
You have
promote.
new species coming into your area, maybe not a target pest, it has controlled other pests.
yeah.
Ecosystem or evolution?
It comes under natural ecosystem.
Natural ecosystem.
So,
അല്ല owls ഇല്ലാന്നല്ല ഐഡിയ ഇപ്പൊ owl house construct ചെയ്തോണ്ട് owl വന്നിരിക്കണമെന്നില്ലല്ലോ. There are owls in the area whereby they have come and settled in this particular owl house. Our problem is there.
next one they have means there was a they have introduced some old varieties of basil and peppermint. So
But
there
once
are
again, for me, I'm not very clear because in the whole, what do you call that, ecological chain, you, by bringing this kind of encouraging this kind of at least that example, you're disturbing the whole thing and you are making the rodents who are there naturally present, you're diminishing theirs and then you're increasing population of the owls in that area.
but
Is that not interfering with the what is it, food chain?
but it is but in other way when you see at it, suppose
The mice is damaging your crops.
mice damage will
You cannot
affecting the
affect
yield more than the owl damage what they are doing. And in case of Indian farmers, suppose what they do, the
So then my question comes back to the first question that I asked, whether that is a practice we should follow or that's a practice,
Actually,
that
as
is
per that,
that
it
is
is
not a
not-
good example is what my first question
It is
was.
not a good example that he agrees for that. He told, he consulted with the person and they were having problems with this implementation. He told that.
we should make sure that no one getting affected with the use of this kind of initiative.
It's better to, when we go for
So isn't it
biodiversity.
better to control the pest menace? You have like rodent menace, you have some kind of rodent traps and then capture them and that being more
Yeah,
rather
can
than,
be, it can be.
rather than disturbing
Yeah.
the food chain.
Yeah, your view is totally means right. In that way, you can do it. So just catching them and
But
putting them in other.
The idea would be, if a naturally, because if it is not the worst, if something else which would also help ecosystem, that would be a better idea to
Yeah.
encourage.
So like
In
what
this
example
case,
we have given?
You have to bring another animal to get the outcome.
In our biodiversity, we will not touch animals, we'll go for some plants. That's better.
Again,
Water
to
conservation.
create a nesting sites or nesting area for the birds, it will again affect the crop because birds will have some effect on the crop.
Definitely the birds will damage,
Yeah.
they will come and attack.
So you have to make sure that whatever you are doing it, the proper study should be there. If you are doing creating a nesting area, it should be created away from the farm so that farm is not getting affected and
Not
maintaining the
necessarily.
biodiversity.
In Chile, generally you recommend bird patches.
Yeah.
So government recommendation or the university recommendation. In IPM as such, you will recommend as a mechanical control, you will recommend biological control, you will recommend bird patches. You will establish a sitting area for the birds in the field. What they do, they come and sit and eat, but they don't eat economic part of the plant, but they eat caterpillars.
Yeah.
So then,
There we had the issue with parrots and peacocks.
that's what, if you
Yeah.
the bird which is there in the house,
The study should be there.
they will have some disturbance with your household activities. When you keep in the farm, what birds always good, will you are,
No, they will take out the fruit.
No,
Actually,
the proper-
yes, we had
Proper
issues.
study should be there in case of planning the initiative.
They will eat up, they will take it, they damage the crop.
okay, but maybe some sweet chili kind of thing. But generally that is a recommendation where you put bird patches in the field, so there birds comes and sit and eat caterpillars.
Okay.
That's a natural way of controlling pests. So on this, by having your birds in field also, they had organic matter to your side because of their ratting this thing. So it is, but that's what, your risk assessment should be done. What kind of leopards should not be coming in picture.
But biodiversity should happen in the first shot or it can be ongoing process? Like we
Ongoing
have like for the
process,
first time.
yeah. In first time maybe you can say that you are searching or your research is going on related to for the search of biodiversity initiative in and around your farm. So that can be acceptable. But for next season you must have a firm initiative.
Okay.
So there will be a,
Yeah, because this cannot be done just like anything.
yeah. There should be proper planning,
A
yeah.
particular worm or insect which is eating another worm and insect. Now, if you kill this one, this particular one will cooperate in.
That's what.
That's what I'm saying. You should not interfere into the food chain cycle. By doing that, you are disturbing the entire other.
Correct. But naturally when maize or something was there, what generally gets eaten, naturally, how does it control? The food chain only, what that we have to allow, that we have to encourage. Not the other thing, wool, which is not present in that area, we should not bring that.
Yeah.
Maybe some other bird which naturally present, you can increase those population by having this mix.
One of Indians of the what they have done is they have just done simple initiative. They have given mango saplings to all the farmers, but they have not only given mango saplings. They have ensured that the saplings are planted and maintained in the good working order. They are monitoring it since last 1.5 years, and the record keeping is there. How much it means height is there or growth is how are introduced some old varieties which were disappearing from that particular area to increase so that the biodiversity can be maintained, that ecosystem can be maintained. They introduce some basil and peppermint varieties. The interested growers.
So what kind of risk assessment they might have taken earlier? Why they have to introduce? Because
This is part of research. You have to research which variety was there prevalent in previous years, or which bird is there, or which plant species is there which was diminishing since last 3-4 years. So based on that you have to prepare a plan, and then your plan must consider the monitoring things, because once you prepare a plan it is documented, but how you are going to monitor it, how you are going to improve it, it is a main important thing behind that plan.
Now, in simple language, what does the biodiversity initiative mean?
At least the one step to give it something to the nature.
To give back something to the nature.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is the crux of the theory.
Yeah.
To give something back to the nature.
Same like what Pulshan always says, you take from nature and you give back to the nature. You always tell, no, it's the same.
And there are no standard
No.
steps as to what to do. It has to be some initiative of yours
Yeah,
which-
some research, some.
by which you give something back
Yeah.
to the nature.
Yeah. So this is the basic means
And
thing,
it's a mandatory or must or should?
must requirement for now.
Or not. But later,
It's a must.
For now or?
For now,
As of now, it is must.
No, is it?
yeah, it is must. And as far as other requirements
What
are,
are the Indian companies have done?
That-
Examples?
as I have told you that one is that mango saplings. Mango saplings they have given. One company is just maintaining the records of the natural vegetation around the farm. How many trees were there, how many trees they have planted this year.
I have told ITC is doing biodiversity park. So they have identified a region, so which is natural river waters, like pond was there, and natural region, they have fenced it and they have left it alone. So they are not doing any activity there. So biodiversity is, like honey is coming and they are, document is maintaining what are number of species, what are there, and year after year, how many new species has come. It is in Rajahmundry, near Rajahmundry.
To have a honey bee box is also a good option. Yeah.
You are in Bhadrachalam
So
also.
it's got nothing to do with the actual project area.
Yeah.
It can
You
be
can do it on farm, off farm, anywhere.
Anyway.
anywhere in India, but
Yeah.
the
If you
commitment-
are,
there should be commitment by the company
yeah,
to invest time and effort to ensure something is being given back to the nature.
But anywhere in India, they have not agreed initially. The district or region where you are working,
How much is it going?
anywhere in India, you are, as you say, they have not said yes to it. They said, region where you are working, there you have to do.
that's not case. You can apply it anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
But when Rainforest Alliance said, we can consider that, but they said preferably wherever you are doing, there should be a biodiversity park. If you can't implement all your biodiversity activities in your field,
Yeah.
because it is difficult to maintain biodiversity in each and every field. As a supplier, you can do it in a marketplace, you can do biodiversity, you can introduce species which is locally available generally, or maybe 10 years before that was there, now it was not there. By having that one, if it is good for nature, you can
ഒരു
introduce.
കാര്യം ചെയ്യാവുന്നതാണ് ദേവകൃഷ്ണൻ. കംപ്ലീറ്റ് എംപ്ലോയീസിനെ ഏതെങ്കിലും തരത്തിലുള്ള പ്ലാന്റ് കൊടുക്കുക. Let them plant and ഈ പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു ചെറിയ
And maybe you know,
That
beyond
can-
the
Okay, including him. That is the best suggestion. You are planting
He's
so.
got a lot of plans, so
I'll make sure that the plant grows there. Like a honey plant, but you make sure you come and water it once.
I'll sponsor for that.
So you are,
Jokes apart, is there some kind of a goal or some kind of, or it is that you have to monitor, you have to ensure
Yes.
You have to
there is
monitor.
a,
You have to monitor. There should be a
positive petition.
plan should be there. First, the plan should be there, and then the monitoring should be there. And regarding monitoring, how kind of monitoring, who is responsible for that monitoring, then how you're monitoring the progress of your initiative, and is it a successful one or like the old best, not successful one. So that you have to do. If it is not successful, then next plan should be there.
Anything we can.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Basic things you can do also.
Schools they are
Maybe
doing it
to
for giving money
increase the flowering plants
and they have to maintain a
to
record
ensure the
and
honeybee
submit
activity,
for-
more honeybee activity.
in company also you can plant in our factory.
Factory no.
I don't know, natural
Because
vegetation.
again, sometimes it clashes with food safety requirements. Because perimeter wise you have to take care.
No, employees also can be
Employees,
taken.
something we can do.
In the houses, if you, as an organization, I take an initiative, each employee will go to 2 trees and maintain it.
Yeah.
That can
That's
consider.
something we can do.
It is not possible.
No, I got only 5 cents of land.
അല്ല, അങ്ങനെ കാണിക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ? ഈ carbon footprint ൽ
Very.
I will show the plastic area, come and audit from my area. Women, sir.
Just the loan, we have enough. Romania, cashew is powder.
Okay, then other requirements are concerned with related to biodiversity are prohibitions for hunting,
Hunting.
fishing, then collecting firewood from the forest, collecting any product from the forest without legal permission. So these kind of things are not allowed. Maybe if your farmer is having any wild species or species which are diminishing, then you must conserve, or your plan must ensure that that species, particular species is conserved. So these are the basic requirements of biodiversity. But main is you must have an initiative to do it, because hunting and all, actually it is legally banned in our country. So it will not pose any problem, big problem to it. Only the collection of firewood, maybe some farmers or nearby forest area may be collecting it, but you should train them to take it in legal way.
And the extent of this biodiversity park or area, is there any minimum area or something like that?
No,
Some improvement you have to show.
there is no such means criteria given by them. You can implement anywhere at any means in any amount.
All these, it can be, so majorly in farm, as a farm, we'll have some diversity. There will be neem trees,
Yeah.
there will be pomegranate trees, that has to be documented. And we should train them farmers, you should not cut down. If you cut down, you should have an alternative plan. If you are cutting this neem tree for a purpose, you should plant another neem tree. So that way, we need to identify a system how we better document. Because in Indian context, all the farmers might have some or other vegetation, whether neem, pomegranate, eucalyptus or some other thing. But we need to bring in picture, this is natural ecosystem, this is biodiversity, you have to maintain. So a document will be prepared and farmers will be trying on that can also be taken.
Yeah.
If nothing is, basically this happens in this one, plantation crops. Because the plantation crops, they don't have any vegetation, only tea or coffee or tea majorly, they don't have. So that part of them, they require some biodiversity, some biodiversity parks. But in our normal agriculture farm, all the farms will have some or other vegetation. So that we need to document and say this is natural ecosystem.
Yeah.
You have to conserve or improve.
This is about the biodiversity. In case of documentation, only plants should be there. And if there are any endangered species, then it should be documented. Otherwise, no such documents are required as far as biodiversity is concerned. So these are about all the chapters. And 11th chapter is about training. So you have to train them about agrochemicals and fuels, soils, water management, pest
Whatever related to agriculture,
Yeah.
we have to provide. them.
And as far as training record is concerned, you must have a training topic details, the number of persons who have attended the training, and the trainer
And
name.
is there a, again, definition like this much training?
No. As
We can-
to gather all farmers at one place and train them for whole day, it will be difficult to make them understand also. They will not able to understand everything. So individual training is more important than group training in my view.
But then,
No.
Potatoes. That is the farming, it should be done like that.
you should try not out.
This you are using for training.
Yeah.
This we are using for training.
No, which, for gap year, this only. Similarly, now,
This field book,
No, the
You can go through the mandatory requirements. Only mandatory requirements are there. So tomorrow we'll assess the farmer based on these requirements. So we'll see whether that farmer particularly is tracked as of now.